And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today. It's Friday, January 25th, 2013. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me is my co-host, my son, Joe Hagmann. Folks, you're about to hear 3 hours of completely unbiased and uncensored news, analysis, and information that you need to know in these perilous times. And, of course, folks, we broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on the Internet. Our home base is HomelandSecurityUS.com. That's HomelandSecurityUS.com, not affiliated with any government agency. You can also watch us when we are broadcasting live on the Christians United Broadcasting Network, and we're also simulcast there, as well as a couple of other brick-and-mortar stations. I want to thank those stations for picking us up. I've not, rather than name them, I'll just say if you're in the Pacific Northwest, you can catch us, as well as the central part of the country, Nebraska. We're also broadcasting on the station Nebraska. So a couple of newcomers there. We're a listener-supported show. I want to thank each and every one of you who has helped us stay on the air through your financial support, through your prayers, through your spreading of the word. I got to tell you, folks, this program is really growing, and we want to thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for their suggestions, their emails. We read them all. Sometimes we don't have time sometimes to catch them all or to respond to them all, but we do our best. Joe, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here. It's been an interesting day. You did some good work and further investigation into things happening from Benghazi associated with new appointees in the Obama administration. And an ongoing investigation you're doing, and
well, there's two more things coming out, folks. I'll just make this announcement because we're getting emails on this pretty much all week since the inauguration. I spoke to my DHS insider source a while ago, of course, and had written a column about it that appeared on CanadaFreePress.com and, of course, HomelandSecurityUS.com. And I was asked to wait for the other part of that to go up until after the inauguration. And so people are saying, well, when's that coming? When are you going to post that? No, the answer to that is going to be simply this weekend. So just hold fast on that.
And before you get into what you want to open with, I would just want to say this. This headline is from the Washington Times: the Obama recess appointments unconstitutional. I don't know how many of you guys saw this, or if you even saw this, Dad.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It goes on to talk about, in a case frayed with major constitutional implications, the Federal Appeals Court on Friday overturned Obama's controversial recess appointments from last year, ruling he abused his powers and acted when the Senate was not actually in recess. The three-major judge panel ruling is a major blow to Mr. Obama. The judges ruled that the appointments he made to the National Labor Relations Board are illegal, and hence the five-person board did not have the authority to operate.
Now where is this going to go from here, or where do they take this from here? Do you think that Obama's going to take this line down?
I don't think they're going to take it anywhere. They'll probably get rid of the judges and the ruling and just declare it to be null and void, like they do the Constitution.
Well, yeah, it's going to be an interesting issue to follow. A federal court, if it's my understanding, Joe, a federal court made that ruling that because they were not in complete recess or technically in recess, that right. The appointments made unilaterally by the Obama administration are not valid. So, I'm not sure though. What happens? See, who enforces that? Who enforces this?
Well, people under control, direct control of the people creating these problems.
But you understand what I mean? Like,
yeah.
See, I just don't understand if you're going to have. I mean, who walks into the office? The head of the consumer. What was that consumer division?
It was
the consumer department.
Let's see. This was made to the National Labor Relations Board.
Right, but there were like three nominations in two different departments, perhaps.
Okay. I haven't read the whole article. I will go through it.
But anyway, my question is this: who goes into that department, that government department, and taps the guy on the shoulder and says, "Hey, you know what? You're going to leave because you're not here. Your appointment's null and void." I mean, does this happen? And this is something that I have not seen anywhere in the media. It's not clear to me. But then again, this is new ground. I'm not sure that anything like this has happened before, and I know that this can get caught up in appeals back and forth. But
and before the show, we found a video from 1946. It's a reenactment of a situation from 1946 where
it's posted on our website.
Yeah, and I'll post the link to this in the chat room. But go to HomelandSecurityGuest.com, and you can find Taking Our Country Back at the local level. Something to think about. It's about the Battle of Athens in Tennessee.
Yep.
And it was how World War II veterans overtook the crooked officials who stole the ballot boxes to rig them so they could continue their corruption in office, and through armed resistance, came out and took their town back.
Yeah,
it's a story we never heard about, and it happened in 1946, and very interesting. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. 13 and a half minutes. I'm sure there's a longer version out there, but 13 and a half minutes gives you a good idea of what happened back then. And thanks for finding that, Joe, because it should send a chilling message to people in the government, local governments who are corrupt, I guess, for lack of a better term. But tonight, our show is going to just be all open lines. We're going to be taking your calls. You can tell us what's on your mind at 661-244-9839. The second thing this weekend is going to be coming out too, with respect to Benghazi. You remember the video Innocence of Muslims? You remember that, right, folks? The thing that's reportedly sparked the world, set the world on fire. Yeah, the reason for the alleged protest that they say led to the attack on the consulate, in parentheses, quote unquote, CIA base in Libya, but when really there is no consulate. 1, 2, the film was not a film; it was just a trailer. And 3, the people involved in that were making a completely different movie when it was turned into something completely different. Then that movie was used to blame on what happened in Libya for about 2 weeks by the administration. And then we saw Hillary Clinton testify Wednesday, or talk Wednesday to congressional leaders, and it wasn't really an investigation, but it's just a mess. I mean, it's as big a mess as our society's moral situation, as our economical situation, and our spiritual situation. I mean, it's just
it's a mess indeed. But I think I have. What's coming out this weekend will be a report on tracing that movie back to its origin. And if you really, really want the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up, I think we've successfully traced it back to definitely one company, and that company is headed by one individual who's up for the top CIA post, John Brennan. And once this comes out, I believe that there will be some ramifications, maybe some unwarranted ramifications. But I nervous laughter here. But
I'm not nervous.
No, I got to tell you, this is something because that does tie into the murder of Lieutenant Quarles Harris. Yeah, it ties into the passport break-in, passport office break-in, the virtual break-in of the records of the passport office back in 2008.
And why we have the new head of CIA? Why he is the new head of the CIA?
Why?
Why?
Maybe
people aren't just given those positions because they're good people.
Could it be because it's payback? What do you think?
Yeah.
Hey, good job. It's so that's one thing. So there's two things coming out this weekend. I'm going to shoot for Sunday. I've been still. I got to tell you, folks. You get this. You get the flu, and if you haven't, you might feel better, but it's like everything you do after you do feel better, it's like running through standing water. It's just holy cow. Everything's slow motion.
I was doing a lot of reading on people's comments about the flu season this year and their effects, and people say that their bodies might heal where they're not having a fever or throwing up or having flu-like symptoms, but they don't feel normal again for weeks.
Yeah, I'm not sure what normal is anymore. All I can say is that it's when I guess you have to keep your brain wet. There was one of my guilty, sinful pleasures back in sometime, a while ago was watching, was Married with Children with Al Bundy, where he, there was one episode where he gave like a lot of his blood, he donated a lot of his blood for money, and he was sitting in a bar, and nothing came out of his mouth made sense, and he was seeing giraffes and stuff like that. It was funny, and he said, all you have to do is keep your brain wet. And that's true. I think, boy, with high fever, man, I was, wow.
No, a lot of people don't think, we take it for granted, the running water we have coming out of our taps, but, think about a situation where you would have to search for clean water to drink. If we had some sort of disaster that stopped the flow of goods and services, like we talk about, it's a definite possibility. We don't know what it's like to go without water and running water and plumbing, and things we take for granted on a daily basis are things half the world, wish and strive that they had, and people die because they don't have running water and plumbing and clean a way to clean themselves and things. And
that's right. And that's something, folks. Look, we know we're in for some bad times, and perhaps maybe we should just, sit there, when you have a moment, stop and think for a minute. I would say that a way to filter your water might be, you might want to look at some possibilities right now, whether it be like a Berkey system or even some of those straws. You might you see them at the survival stores or at gun shows or whatever.
Yeah. At Dick's Sporting Goods up here, or one of those places, Gander Mountain, we have those two places. I saw there was an aisle of, they had things from 5-gallon portable bags, filter bags, to all kinds of, they have a variety now of ways to filter. And what you need to do is, do the research on what is the best method, both for those who can't, afford to go out and buy water filters, like most of us, just to have lying around. How to do it naturally. I know charcoal, bleach, and there's different ways you can do things, boiling water.
Right.
But it's something we need to always remember, and can't take anything for granted anymore.
Yeah, I think if we focus, for example, on one thing a week, like this week, all right, we just mentioned the water filters. Do whatever you can research-wise to figure out what best fits your needs. If you live in a trailer, if you live in an apartment building, if you live in a house, it doesn't matter. There's stuff out there for you. Research it on your own, because think about this. Now, I live in a home, actually my house. I've got well water still. Now, does that mean I live in the middle of nowhere? No, of course not. I live in a suburban area, but it just so happened that the previous owners of our house never hooked up to the city water, which is fine. Okay, and you can't. Our water is treated through an internal treatment system, filter system, and chlorinator and whatever. All the things that are you should have when you have a well. But the problem is when the lights go out, so does the water. So, and if we've got a very deep well. So the question is, how do you get that water in the absence of electricity out of the ground? Well, you're not going to be You're not going to be pumping it up manually. It's just too deep in the ground. There are baler buckets and what have you. You can look on the internet to make. But these are all things that while the lights are still on, while the electricity is still running, that you could probably just take a moment and whatever your situation is. So, because if you live in an apartment, it'd be very difficult to store, 500 gallons of water or whatever, just the weight, and the space it would take. So, there are just certain things to think about. That water storage is one of them, and I think that you'd be good to do the research on that. That said, we have a lot of news to cover tonight, but I just want to, before we get into the news and everything, I just want to kind of go back in time a little bit, give you a homework assignment in a way. Not too far back. How many people have heard of Dr. Carroll Quigley, Professor Quigley? He was a professor of history at the Foreign Service School at Georgetown University. He taught at Princeton and Harvard, and he did a lot of research in the archives of France, Italy, and England. Now, he is the author of the widely known text, Evolution of Civilizations. But Dr. Carroll Quigley wrote a 1,300-page book called Tragedy and Hope. I'm not sure how many people know that. It's still for sale. It's a very expensive book. Personally, I would not want to see one penny spent on the book. But this is a book written by Dr. Quigley, and I use the word doctor a little bit with trouble myself. But okay, Quigley was one of the elite insiders. He knew the scope of the power complex, the New World Order, that type of thing. He knew that. He knew the leaders and their hope to eventually attain global control. In Tragedy and Hope, which if you can get your hands on a copy without having to buy it, I would definitely do so and go over it, because he lays out within that book the groundwork, the network of this New World Order. And by the way, Dr. Quigley, who is deceased now, was the hero to both Bill and Hillary Clinton. Which, that should tell you something. But I'm just going through a couple of things here because I think it's so important to understand the background of this. The Tragedy and Hope, anyone reading that book would have very little difficulty detecting the tremendous self-esteem of Dr. Quigley, by the way. He considered himself an insider, as well as a member of the intellectual elite among the insiders. So you could tell by reading the book that this guy really thought a lot of himself. He expresses contempt for those who thought the communist conspiracy was the real center for collectivized conspiracies. He ridicules their conclusions of people who poo-pooed that, and then turn around and admit that their conclusions were correct anyway. The American anti-communists had merely erred in knowing who to blame. It's an interesting work if you can pick it up, or like I said, if you can read it. But Dr. Quigley admits that in his writings that he actually disclosed more than the geopolitical elite insiders would want to have disclosed. And we've often heard, Joe, that you and I have heard where the conspiratorial insiders of New World Order group have always wanted to keep their subversions a secret. And Quigley often said that it's time for people to know who is actually running things. And this is where Tragedy and Hope comes into play. The real value of Tragedy and Hope is not so much as a history of the world in our time, but rather as a bold and boastful admission by Dr. Quigley that there actually exists a relatively small but powerful group of people which has succeeded in acquiring a chokehold on the affairs of just about everything that we do, the entire human race.
You're just talking conspiracy theory now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm talking conspiracy. You doggone right I am.
I'm calling the Say Something hotline. I got to speak to help.
Well, it's because anyone familiar with the writings of the Book of Revelations knows that modern history would eventually contain the account of a gigantic complex of political and economic power, which would really cover the entire Earth. So it's, the new world order. It's not the new North American order. Of course, John Patmos predicted that predicted that before the great messianic rule, the millennium of peace, that the human race would be subjected to a ruthless worldwide conglomerate of dictatorial authority. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing this right now. We're seeing it play out. John of Patmos said it would compel all men, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to be identified with it. John also referred to its economic grip on humanity and said that unless a person were identified with its monopoly network, no man might buy or sell. So you're talking about the mark of the beast here.
Yeah, and we're seeing the technology is already available. The RFID technology. There's actually, if you go, there's a PDF, Class 2. It's an FDA regulation that's cited in Obamacare about Class 2 RFID type implantable devices. And I've been doing a lot of research on this, and haven't talked about it much this week, and I don't even have my computer here with the document, but they are developing an implantable in humans for healthcare data exchange information is their stated use. Then they do plan on implementing it, and they have two ways of doing that. They say one is like a voluntary passive way, and the other is non-voluntary, and both are on the table. Well, the only question is the language is so vague. I think that the real plans and orders of when to carry this out would depend on if and when something were to happen, such as an economic collapse. They could go the soft way for, hospital patients, people being in and out of the emergency room, veterans hospitals. I know I saw an article about that being implemented in veterans hospitals first. So they're going to slowly push this on the people, make it seem normal, it's okay, and they'll probably publish reports that if you're against it, you're an extremist and a terrorist. And
I think we've already seen that, where they think that.
Right, and we're in the time. People said, March, especially Pastor Begley, he's been one of the people who said March 23rd, and whether that date is, the start of the real soft push or something will happen, and that's going to be the hard push. This is something that's going to happen. It's been prophesied about from Daniel to Revelations, and we know it's coming. And it says, those that won't receive that mark or worship the beast or the image of his name will be beheaded. And it's clear as day in the Bible.
Right. And that's frightening.
Yeah.
It's
all
a frightening prospect.
The secret prisons, the places of consignment that they have for these people, the way that they can shut off travel to make sure that people who don't have it, their mark, won't be able to get around. We know now that through books like Steve Quayle, everything he's talked about with the genetic Armageddon, the advancement of the nanotechnology, the spy, surveillance, grid equipment, and through other government documents, they already have the setup to surveil everything and anything. Your microwave, your dishwasher, your computers, your phones, all two-way communicators. Now they're coming out in the open and saying we're going to install streetlights that have two-way communications to monitor traffic, to give you public information broadcasts even.
Well, if there wasn't this nefarious part of it, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Technology is not bad. It's how it's used.
Right. The medical world isn't bad.
Of course not.
It depends on how it's used, just like you said.
I mean, my wife went to the doctor today, and I didn't know this, but now the doctor, our family doctor, for example, you can get a password, a PIN number, and we go on the website and you've got a PIN number, kind of like your online banking, where you can access your own medical records. So technology in that respect is not bad. It serves a purpose. So if you need a copy of your last, I don't know, whatever, X-rays or something, they're right there, or a copy of your radiology reports right there. That's a good thing. That's a tremendously good thing. It makes life a lot easier to use, where you don't have to carry around. And I remember, even 10 years ago, having to carry around the films. You ever have an MRI or a CAT scan or whatever?
Yeah, I remember you gone to doctors with your X-rays and the big envelopes you had to carry around.
I still have them. I still have them. And of course you got to keep them away from the water, and then I should put some online. You can see the inside of my head. But anyway, it's the nefarious people that take what is good, and then they make it bad, and this is what we're up against. But before moving on, I just want to say this: if you get a chance, folks, if you're looking for something to research to give you some good background, Dr. Carol Quigley. And if you're looking for a good read, a very good short but extremely important book that's, somewhat aged, I suppose. What is this? I think the last publication, or the initial publication, was 1970. The name of the book is The Naked Capitalist. The Naked Capitalist by W. Cleon Skousen. It's a great book. I believe that it was updated since 1970. If you can get that would give you some great background into how we got here at this very moment in time, and who the players and shakers and movers were, whether it be George Bundy, remember that, or Henry Ford, or Paul Hoffman, or of course the Warburgs and the Rothschilds and the Walter Lippmann and so on, Eisenhower, and holy cow, you name it. It's got J.P. Morgan, of course. It names people and gives you kind of a timeline from there to here, or at least from 1970. It's called The Naked Capitalist. But that kind of also, The Naked Capitalist also talks about Carol Quigley. And Carol Quigley is important. It's an interesting character to learn about because, like I said, you've got Bill and Hillary Clinton both laying, praising Quigley. He's their hero. And once you understand that, you can understand why we're where we're at. So that's just something I wanted to mention at the beginning of the show. And also, don't forget Sunday. Did you mention this?
No.
Sunday.
Pastor Langford and Steve
Quayle. Buckle up.
We'll be on to talk about rapture.
That's right. 9 to midnight. Now, folks, look, just want to say this ahead of time. In the chat room,
we know it's a very sensitive issue with people. Yeah. We know that people have very strong opinions on it. The only thing that we're asking is that you just keep an open mind and take whatever is said on the show to the Lord in prayer. And no one's, saying anybody's wrong. We're just offering one side or their side, whatever they say.
It's always good to talk about it. It's always good to keep it out in the open.
Right. Well, this seems to be, when you look at what's going on with our society, they're playing the divide and conquer game.
Yes, they are.
It's along economic lines. It's along racial lines. It's along, the lines of the way you think, the way people think. And now they are coming after the number one way, the number one target of people who will actually make a difference for good, which are, wholehearted true Christians. And this is a dividing issue, and it needs to be addressed, and we're not going to solve the problem, figure out anything, of course, but I shouldn't say we can't learn. We can still learn something, but everything that we hear, we have to take to the Bible and take to the Lord in prayer and find out on our own, like most things.
See, and that's why, in the conversation I had with Steve Quayle, and he kind of said, look, you should address that with Pastor Langford. I still have a lot of questions about when it appears in the Bible and specifically what the Bible says. And I'm not talking about, the interpretation of what the Bible says. I'm talking about what the Bible says about the rapture and about the second coming and about all of this. I'm not interested in any one person's interpretation, I guess. So direct me to the scriptures. Direct me to where I need to look in the context in which I need to study this. And that's what Sunday is going to be about. It's not going to be about anything else but that. Okay, here's this information, that information from the Bible, where it appears, whether it's, wherever it appears.
And this is good practice because we need to apply this to everything we learned that is said about the Lord and his actions and what he prophesied about and what other prophets talked about, because nobody has perfect understanding. Only the Lord knows what is going to happen, what has happened, and how it's going to all end, because it's already done. It's already written and sealed. The only way we can figure out or get any closer to that is through prayer, dedication, keeping an open line of communication between yourself and the Lord, and doing what He asks. And without that, we don't have anything anyway.
That's right. So anyway, Sunday it's going to be an interesting program. Again, the only thing I ask is in the chat room, everyone just we always have a zero tolerance policy in the chat room. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, when it comes to name calling, being mean to each other, we don't mind debates. We don't mind disagreement. We encourage debate, or we encourage discussion, interactive discussion. When it goes down to, and we've got one of the best chat rooms in anywhere. Yeah. Boy, that's fine. The other day, when I still wasn't feeling kind of good, I logged onto somebody's chat room and was watching and thinking, "Holy cow, man! If they were sitting at a table in my living room, it was like they'd be throwing food. It just blew my mind." But anyway, all right. So moving on. So it's going to be a good program on Sunday, special program. Yeah, working overtime. 9 to midnight. Working overtime. Now, did you see this, Joe? Kissinger is predicting nuclear war with Iran. Yes, I did. This appears on InfoWars. And globalist kingpin, renowned world war criminal. Thanks. And Rockefeller co-conspirator Kissinger, who we all know is one of the most evil men to have hold the position in the United States executive branch, from administration to administration. If you guys have not seen I forget the journalist's name. I think he was British. Chris something. There was a movie, a documentary even done on Kissinger and the war crimes he committed in Cambodia, and the way he plays both sides of the coin here. In the Vietnam War in Cambodia, the crimes he committed there alone, he should have been hung. But what this man did also was write the memorandum on how to create population control through starvation and control of food in 1974, the State Memorandum 200. And it's, eugenicist through control of the food supply. Right. And he is one of the, whatever you would call them, these Satanists that hold a high level of power for whatever reason, even though he's unelected, and the influence of the groups like the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations. Well, isn't this what's going on in Davos, Switzerland? Is it the Bilderberg? What's going on right now in Davos? I don't know. I saw that reference. Okay, because I thought that was either the Trilateral Commission or Bilderbergers or whatever meeting is involved. But but he goes on to say that a crisis involving a nuclear Iran in the foreseeable future will lead to a nuclear war and a turning point in human history, according to the BBC. Well, I think any type of nuclear war would certainly lead to a turning point in human history. Yeah. Now, I wonder, however, if he is saying this or if he knows this, and folks, I'm certainly open to anyone's thoughts on this, but we know that Syria right now, we know that there's a big problem with Syria. We know that despite what Hillary Clinton had said this past week, we know that arms are going up to Syria via Turkey and other countries. And she knows it too. She knows. She just lies. Right. So now we've got Syria. That's a problem. We took out Iraq and see, I don't understand. This goes back to us taking out Iraq too.
Right. Well, if you go back to the Wolfowitz doctrine, you go back to the Bush era, even Bush 1, they had a plan to overthrow the Middle East nations.
Correct.
And it ties into the central banks. That it's a multi-agenda-driven reasons why we are. I mean, there's many levels, reasons why we are in there. One, instituting the rest of the central banks in the Middle Eastern countries. Two, gaining control of key resources, such as like the opium in Afghanistan, the oil fields in different parts of the world, the lithium, the different things that are over there. Also, destabilizing and rebuilding the nations with different leadership. And as we see today in Egypt, there are riots taking place where now the government of Egypt is killing its citizens. Now, if you'll remember, there were a few reports of this happening a few years ago. And what happened? Well, we had to get rid of Mubarak. And then there was reports of protesters being killed in Libya. Oh, we have to get rid of Gaddafi. He's murdering his citizens. Are we going to go in there and get rid of Morsi?
Well, didn't we just give Morsi
a $1 billion aid package, including F-16s and other weapons? Yeah, 6 protesters were killed today after heavy clashes between protesters and security forces in Egypt. Al Arabia correspondent reported on Friday 5 protesters were killed after being hit with a Karcho bullet. I think I screwed that up. In Suez City, east of Cairo, while 1 person was killed, according to Egypt's emergency services late Friday. As a massive protest took off in Egypt's President Mohamed Morsi on Friday to mark the 2nd anniversary of the revolution that ousted Mubarak and brought in the Islamist government. The country's security forces fired tear gas at protesters near the presidential palace on Friday. And there is a live feed to the protest, and Tahrir Square is full right now. They're still rioting. There's still tear gas being hurled, rocks being thrown. But this is what happens. And there's also interesting, there's a sign in Tahrir Square that read, from Tahrir Square to the U.S. media and Muslim Brotherhood. Obama, you jerk. Muslim Brotherhoods are killing the Egyptians. So how come they guarantee you the security of Israel? Hey, Obama, your deal with the Muslim Brotherhood is unsuccessful. Obama, you idiot, keep that in mind. Egypt is not a Muslim Brotherhood. And if you don't believe that, go and see what's happening in Tahrir Square now.
Yeah, there's a man holding that sign. It's a full-length body sign, if you will, and it's. Look, I don't know. Could it be? I don't know the authenticity of that sign, but it looks like it.
But I do know that the authenticity of the situation in Tahrir Square, as there's live feeds on Ustream to Middle Eastern media, different. You can find them on the internet. You can go watch the live streams right now of the what's going on there, and it looks just like it did 2 years ago. Streets are full. There's chaos and people fighting.
Have we thought and have we not believed that this was the intent of the Obama regime,
right?
Of Valerie Jarrett, of Hillary Clinton all along to do this, to cause chaos?
We've reported on it. The Arab Spring, as so many, talking heads from Fox News to MSNBC reported it as, spreading democracy, freeing nations. Yeah, freeing nations in order to put them underneath a more destructive and deadly tyrannical leader, freeing them for the time being where they were without a leader, those few short days or weeks. Now we can see the fruits of their works. And what is that? Now the government is more radical than the last one. We spoke about how Mubarak was more secular, how Gaddafi was more secular. They didn't allow, radical Islamists to just run freely around the country, killing Christians, throwing them in jail for converting to Christianity or unconverting from Islam. We're seeing that today, though, now. They're killing black people in Libya left and right, the Coptic Christians. They're killing anybody who is not with their radical Islam agenda. And now in Syria, we're seeing the same thing. And how many people, 30-plus thousand, almost 40,000 are reported dead now in Syria?
60,000.
I mean, these people have a lot of blood on their hands, and this is a glimpse of what we'll be seeing in America.
What was said about loosely opening the portals on Inauguration Day, I truly believe that to be the case, and I think that now what we've seen for the last 5 years has been a run-up for what we're going to see for the next 4 years and beyond. That's just something that you're right. Now, we're going to be getting a lot of news, but before we do, Joe, let me, 9 o'clock last night, at 9:13 last night, I received the following email here, and I've got to tell you, I didn't catch it during the show last night, and I caught it after the show. Actually, I looked at it and I thought, wow. I'm going to read it because just take a listen to this. I mean, it moved me beyond belief. And this is, I'm just going to give the person's first name is Stephen. Stephen, I want to thank you for sending this email, but here's what Stephen's got to say. I'm going to read it verbatim.
Okay.
It starts, Stephen says this: I want to first thank you for being on the air. You do what many can't fathom doing. Stand up for what you believe in and use your First Amendment to address the issues. I personally am not made of money and wish I was. I'm not your average American. I don't sit out in the sun and graze and feed what's given to me. I realize that personal interest of individuals and businesses are what create change and flow throughout the world. I would have you know that I would personally fund your show if I had the means. You and your show are the shoreline keeping the perpetual surf from flooding the land and destroying everything. Well, Steve, thank you very much. But I understand. But it gets better, folks. Without people like you, someone like myself might never stumble across the truth in today's manipulated society. I hope no matter what the cost, to the death, you keep fighting. For me and all of America and the world. Now, I'm not a super religious man, but I do hope and pray that others awaken from their slumber to see the world for the way it truly is. I will tell you I believe in fate. I'm not sure I would have stumbled across you or your show if it wasn't meant to happen. Now listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. In April 2005, I was on patrol in Iraq and I had 2 soldiers in my squad killed and 15 others knocked to the ground when we were struck with a VB IED, which is a car bomb. The situation in Iraq changed my life forever, and I will never be the same again. I often ask myself why I was spared on that day. The one day I wasn't physically on the ground walking behind the 2 soldiers who were killed. I was stuck in an armored vehicle just minutes before the patrol. It was the only time in my entire tour that I wasn't boots on the ground, walking with my squad, doing foot patrols and home raids. That was the only time, and that was the only time that they got bombed. The truth is, over the years, since then, it seems for one purpose, to educate and to awaken people around me. And I'm seeing change, and all I can think of is that there are more people that need to know. Together we are unstoppable. I work the neighborhoods, you the towns and cities. I hope this cycle continues and the individuals like yourself and I before it's all lost. I will have you know that I advertise for you and Keith Hansen and others, talk about your shows on many occasions, introduce your sites to our family, friends, and random strangers. If topics come up in conversation, maybe one day I will get the privilege and honor to meet you. Until that day, stay healthy and keep up the hard work and keep up the fight. Remember that one, we are nothing, many, we are strong. But see, and that's the end of the email, and that's by Stephen. And think about that. How one's life could be changed in the blink of an eye. In that day, in April 2005, he was supposed to be walking where those 2 soldiers were, and for the first time he wasn't. And that's when the bomb went off and killed those 2 soldiers, and knocked another 15 down. I mean, when I say knocked them to the ground, You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But see, I think that this shows that we are all here for a purpose, and we can't squander that purpose. Stephen, I want to thank you very much for your service, and just to let you know that that certainly touched me, and we're very honored to have you as a listener and as a witness to spread the word, to get the word out there, and that just really, really struck me when I read that.
That's right. I don't know about you guys out there, the listeners, but I often found myself wondering why I was still around after things I went through, things I've done, not smart things. And
I almost killed you a couple times.
Yeah. And we are here for a reason, and as long as we're alive, we have the opportunity to be saved, and that's the ultimate goal, is to help people find the Lord so they can have everlasting eternity in heaven. And, nothing on this earth is worth that, and we are a backwards society now where that once cherished, and is completely removed from our society.
Yeah.
People do not see eternal life or look at eternal life as something attainable, real, or even worth the pursuit of trying to find out if it's true or not. And it's sad.
Well, and I just want to let everyone know, because the closer we get to, I shouldn't say the closer we get to the end, but as time continues, as the sand runs out of this hourglass, you're here listening to this program, you're talking to your family, you're getting looks from your family and friends, and your friends are kind of, chuckling in the corner, maybe at you, saying, "Oh boy, what a piece of work he or she is." Oh, here we go. We're going to talk about this again. Look, we all have to work together, and we all have to really do our best into helping others along. And they might not see it right away, and if they don't, and I wouldn't expect them to see things right away. I mean, it took me a long time to really understand what was going on, and I still don't understand everything. Believe me, far from it. But if we work together at this, and if we know that we've got to continue forward, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how difficult it is, our reward is going to be in heaven. But also, maybe we can turn that one head today, tomorrow. Maybe we can change that one mind today or tomorrow or the next day. Maybe that person, maybe the person you talk to, and that person talks to someone else, maybe that second person down the line there, that person might find something, and be the person that you'll never expected, but will change things.
And maybe tonight, for those who feel up to it, I'd like to hear from people who have had division in their household over religious issues, how to live or raise their children, and if things have changed for the better or the worse, either way, because we do get a lot of emails and people that mention this, and we know a lot of people do have problems, and some have been rectified recently, and some are getting more complex and worse for family. And any good stories or bad stories, either way, we'd like to know,
How it affects you personally.
Yeah, do you see this divide growing in your household? Are you guys coming together? And do you think it's going to be an issue that needs to be addressed, or it could cost you your family in a way? Then that's just something thrown out there, so anybody that feels the need to call. Other news we're going to get into tonight.
Oh, well, yeah, wait a minute, before we move on, why don't you add this to the mix, too? How prepared are you at this point? And you can choose to incorporate this in your, because I think, Joe, maybe this might be part of it, too. A lot of times we'll have preparations, for example, whether it be, firearms and ammunition or food, things that a prepper would have. Have you, where are you at in the preparation scale? How do you feel you are prepared as well. And is this part of the division, or is this added to the division? Maybe you've got a basement full or a pantry full of food. They could feed a neighborhood 5 times over. And maybe your family's saying, well, you're a little nuts. And maybe that's caused division. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe because you have a gun or two that your family doesn't agree with. But all of these things. So we'd like to hear from you on that. I just wanted to mention that. Go ahead, Joe.
No, some of the news we're going to be covering tonight, Eric Holder moves on guns. That's a headline off Drudge referring to Holder begins gun control push. My question is, when has he ever not pushed for gun control? Going back to his 1995 video where he talked about brainwashing people.
But now he's coming out. Now the cloak is coming off, the mask is coming off. Now he's saying, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah, well, we have all these politicians or alleged politicians who are openly making bills like Feinstein, her bill to ban pretty much anything that shoots more than one bullet. And it's ridiculous that it's even being entertained. I don't understand why these people aren't put on trial for treason. I don't understand how the police officers who go to work to protect these people haven't arrested these treasonous senators. Send them to the gun-free zone. Send them to North Korea to see how it's like. And these people think that there's something special about them, that if they help the administration, help the New World Satanic Order get their agenda pushed through, that they're going to be part of this, one world utopia. These people are just tools, a means to an end. They'll be removed of just like the rest of us are going to be removed of. And they don't seem to understand that, and it's sad. Also, Bill Gates hates cash. This side of Yahoo Finance.
Okay.
Not for the reasons you're thinking. He wants the cashless society.
Oh, okay.
Time for the cashless society.
I was going to say, well, I'm sure we'll take the names and addresses of all the listeners, give them to Bill Gates, and they can, you can equally divide his number or his money up to the listeners if he hates cash. But you're saying that the actual physical cash. He says there would be less corruption, there would be better security, financial inclusion, cost savings, and access to new markets are the 5 main reasons why cash is bad. And we need a cashless society, probably a Bill Gates chip in our forehead. But Joe, seriously. I mean, we saw India do this. They moved to a cashless society. Now, once again, really by itself, a cashless society, if the cash or whatever, if the money is based on something. No, I don't see the two-way thing here. But they want to be able to track every single transaction, which a cashless society would do. You should have the ability to purchase things. No, I agree. I'm not advocating cash. No, I understand what you mean about the technology and the convenience. Yeah, sure. You go into but with that convenience, you lose that privacy. That's right. No, and I understand that. In a perfect world, though, wouldn't it be kind of, in a perfect world? Well, we're not promised a perfect world on this earth. I know. That's what we need to watch for. So Bill Gates, though, but what is he planning on doing? Is there an active plan on anything, or are we looking at is this just talk? Well, it goes on to say Kenya is a role model for the developing world when it comes to cashless payments. Its M-Pesa network, launched in 2007, has agents on every block, says Neil Glenar. Wait, Kenya? Chief Executive of Mercury Corps, a nonprofit that's a member of the Alliance. Mercurio Cardenas, Colombia's Minister of Finance and Public Credit, said that in an interview he hopes within a year the national legislature will pass a law allowing non-banks to take in cash and electronic vouchers. The key is ensuring that people who take in the cash are as well supervised as bank tellers. We see this as the first step, and what they want to do is trade the cash, apparently, for other means of electronic transactions. Right. So he doesn't say anything other than electronic transactions. Okay. Well, we know, what that leads to, and we see them calling for banks to stop taking with the gun manufacturers, how they did the coal industry. The Obama administration. They're trying to bankrupt and through credit cards being, not processed, through banks saying, we're not going to allow
you to use your money, your debit cards issued by our bank that has your money in it to buy guns, but they're really going after the manufacturers and the producers of gun stores, gun owners, and they are going to squeeze them dry, and that's their plan, is to hit them in their pocketbooks, not allow credit card transactions for guns, to back that process up, to slow it down, to hack it, whatever they're going to do, they're going to do it. That's just one means of attack. While they're working on the legislative and executive in the front lines in the newspapers, behind the scenes, they're launching, in my opinion, one of the most fascist-controlled attacks on any kind of gun-supporting, gun manufacturing companies. Well, and we're going to see more stories about them, many more stories coming out about this.
This is so important for people to understand. For example, Ron Emanuel demands banks not to do business with firearms manufacturers.
Right.
So now what you've got here, there are a lot of backdoor, and this is so important because this war is asymmetrical. These people know. These people are very good at doing this. Okay, Emanuel's saying, look, if you as a bank or you as a lender stop doing business with firearm manufacturers. Now we're seeing the insurance business doing the same thing, cutting off insurance with anyone doing business with or being a gun manufacturer.
Yeah.
Geico, the little lizard, that little green, mouthy British lizard, Geico, which they're into cutting off, been very heavily involved in cutting off insurance for people who have businesses that just do business with gun manufacturers.
Yeah.
This is how they're going to, they're coming after us. It's not the overt anymore. It's the covert. It's the behind the scenes things that are really making us more vulnerable.
And through the executive actions and orders Obama has taken, what they're doing is changing the rules and regulations for background checks. They want a national federal register. And in this article about Eric Holder, it talks about Obama ordered the rule change on January 16th, calling for rulemaking to give law enforcement the ability to run a full background check on an individual before returning a seized weapon. Holder is also proposing that the NICS hold on the records of denial weapon sales that are more than 10 years old. When the NICS was established, the Justice Department ordered that the records be moved to a storage facility after 10 years. Holder says it is no longer necessary. The FBI has therefore determined that the NICS own internal business operations, litigation, and prosecution purposes, and proper administration of the system. NICS shall retain denied transaction records on site, Holder wrote in a notice to be published on Monday's Federal Register. The retention of denied transaction information will enhance the efficiency of operational capabilities of the NICS. The proposed rules will give the Native American tribes access to NICS. Currently, only federal, state, and local agencies can perform these checks, which leaves out domestic dependent nations recognized by the U.S. The Justice Department isn't the only part of the administration that has been asked to take action in response to last month's school shooting. The President has ordered the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Education, and the CDC to get involved.
See, there's that CDC overlay. There's that medical overlay coming into play once again.
Now think about enhancing the background checks, making sure criminals aren't able to walk in. And I understand if you have somebody who got out of jail for a violent crime, they shouldn't be able to walk into a gun store and leave purchasing heavy artillery or
Well, no, even regular rifles. Are background checks a bad thing? I don't believe they are.
And I would agree that people who have violent criminal records, I think there should be an element of violence if they're not going to be denied a gun. I don't think somebody who has a criminal record for too many speeding tickets they should set up a different way of doing things, because you can it's a fine line they're walking. It says the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. It doesn't say unless they have a criminal record or unless they pose a danger to others.
Well, I believe
it says shall not be infringed.
I think the Federalist Papers address the certain qualifications.
Okay.
I believe. Now, I could be wrong, folks. If you're out there and you know about what the papers do say about the character of someone owning a weapon under the Second Amendment.
Yeah, and my biggest problem is it going to matter? I mean, look, drugs are illegal,
Yeah.
but they're consumed almost in every neighborhood, on every street in America. We're the most drug-consuming nation in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's it going to do? I mean, especially when the government brings in the drugs in the first place, just like the guns in Fast and Furious. Folks, we're listening to the Hagmann Report. First hour's gone already on this Friday edition. We're going to take your calls for the next 2 hours at 661-244-9839. Be right back.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies at work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seats. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this very special Friday edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. It's Friday. This is a live broadcast, by the way. It's Friday. It's January 25th, 2013. I want to thank each and every one of you for giving up time on your Friday evening to listen to us. You could be listening, of course, while you're working, whatever you might be doing. Thanks for your time, the investment of time. We hope that you will leave tonight's program with more information than when you came. We want to get into a lot of topics. additional topics as well. While we're on the issue of, we're looking at gun control.
Yeah.
It seems like
we've been talking about it a lot.
Yes. And what are we missing? What are we missing that we're not seeing, or that this issue of gun control is covering up? Is there something else going on in the background that we should be looking at? And Marianne had sent a couple of articles, and other people have too. Eric Rush from CanadaFreePress.com. Have you seen any of his recent articles, Joe, about China?
No.
Have you seen any of that?
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, I have to tell you this. There is some talk about repaying China through our assets, our physical assets. For example, we owe China X amount of dollars. Well, let's give them, and this, I'm just using this as an example, all of the oil fields in Montana, for example. Is that what's going on? Well, Eric Rush seems to think that there could be a backdoor deal, and writes about it at CanadaFreePress.com. What are we doing behind the scenes with China? Now, we know that during the Clinton administration, the Clintons had given China so much technology, so much information. It's really incredible. So, but I would urge everyone just to look up Eric Rush's column about what we're doing with China. Now, I've done a report, and I don't know if I said this yesterday or not, but a couple of places in northwestern Pennsylvania and even southwestern Pennsylvania, the engineers, there are engineers, actually subcontractors who are working on railroad bridges to shore up the bridges so they can handle movements of equipment over 70 tons. Now, what weighs in excess of 70 tons? Well, tanks. Could it be that the infrastructure, at least in that respect, in this area perhaps, is being shored up for the movement of military equipment like tanks? That's a pretty frightening and sobering thought. Mm-hmm. We do know that it's happening, but we don't know why. Now, combine that with perhaps some sort of backdoor deal with China. I know it's a really mental stretch, but nonetheless, who'd have thought we'd be talking about what we're talking about now anyway 5 years ago? So these are things that we have to watch that we're not seeing, not necessarily right in front of our faces, but that are hidden behind the headlines of the day. So we cannot be a one. And I look at other websites too, and I'm thinking, wow, everyone seems to be like a one-note site. There's always, and we fall into the same trap too, where we're always talking about one thing. Well, wait, it's just not about the guns today. That's a big part of it, but it's just not that alone. There are other things taking place, and while our attention is so wrapped in the gun legislation, let's look at what else is going on, and that's part of it. I just want to make sure, and the economic part of the coming economic collapse, the gun control, the martial law, how this is all kind of getting married together. Bill O'Reilly now, you mentioned this, Joe, he came out and said, absent of policy changes, the federal government continues to face an unsustainable fiscal path, meaning that Bill O'Reilly is saying, well, okay, the dollar's going to collapse. So if Bill O'Reilly is finally saying this, just think about this. I mean, here's what might come down in 2013. Imagine this. Imagine some sort of false flag incident at some point where the United States will declare martial law, perhaps another terrorist attack, maybe a dirty bomb or even a live nuke would be used, or some sort of biological pathogen or something. Could this happen? Of course it could. Cross state lines border checks with the TSA. This is already taking place, by the way. TSA checks are now taking place in various parts of the country as beta tests, one being at TSA stations in Texas. It's happening as well in in the Carolinas. TSA goons are at checkpoints, establishing checkpoints. This is to see, and they're asking people their voluntary compliance at these train stations. But in order to do all of this, there must be gun legislation firmly in place, so the citizens will be more compliant, by the way. Now, this gun legislation, it's a stumbling block of the New World Order. They're having trouble selling this to the American people, obviously. So if they're having trouble selling this gun legislation to the American people, what's the next best thing to do? Hey, let's have some sort of false flag operation. I can see this taking place. Add this to the collapse of the United States dollar. Look, this is going to wipe most people out. We are already a debtor nation. We're going to become even more of a debtor nation. Remember, this circles back to China. They hold a lot of our debt. And, it's, by the way, do we know how much U.S. debt China really owns at this point? The U.S. debt was more than $14.3 trillion during the debt crisis back in 2011. That was at the point when we reached our statutory borrowing limit, and there was warning of a potential default if the cap wasn't raised. Well, about 32 cents on every dollar, or $4.6 trillion, is owned by the federal government in trust funds for Social Security and other programs. So think about this. Who holds our debt? The largest portion of U.S. debt, 68 cents for every dollar, or about $10 trillion, is owned by individual investors, corporations, state and local governments, and yes, even foreign governments such as China. They hold our treasury bills, notes, and bonds. Foreign governments hold 46% of all U.S. debt held by the public, more than $4.5 trillion.
Well, what we have in this satanic New World Order system are people like Soros and the Brzezinskis that are talking about the rise of Asia and China, and they have actually, made policies and deals to where, like NAFTA, and they're doing the Trans-Pacific, trying to do the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement.
Correct.
That's going to be one of Obama's top priorities. What they're doing is giving China our businesses, and like just an example, the toll roads in Texas. People talked about in the North American Union, the Trans-Texas Corridor. Toll roads have been sold to companies from other countries. They are collecting tolls on roads that taxpayers already paid for, and that money is, coming right out of the pockets of Americans going to other countries. They're sending Jeep and Jeep and I think Chrysler. They're shipping through the stimulus money bailouts, using that money to ship factories to build the cars in China and in other countries. They have sold us down the river. The only question is, will we be able to get it back? And I say no. We are a looted nation, and the only thing left to collapse is the middle class. Then they run the food shortages, take away the electronic bread lines.
That's right.
And you have a massive problem on your hands, no matter who you are.
Well, exactly. And with respect to China, Michelle Bachmann had at one point joked, "Who's your daddy?" H-U, not W-H-O, but H-U, meaning it's a reference to the Chinese president. But having said that, just to put China's ownership of U.S. debt in perspective, its holding of $1.2 trillion is even larger than the amount the amount owned by American households. So U.S. citizens hold only about $960 billion in U.S. debt, whereas China holds $1.2 trillion.
Now, this article I have here is from January 19th of last year. Okay. Treasury dips into pension funds to avoid debt. This was reported from Reuters.
Debtor default.
To avoid debt. Treasury on Tuesday started dipping into federal pension funds in order to give the Obama administration more credit to pay government bills. So that will be unable to invest fully. The Federal Employees Retirement System Fund beginning Tuesday. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner said in a letter to the Democratic and Republican leaders in Congress. The House of Representatives is expected to vote on Wednesday on the Obama administration's request to raise the country's legal debt limit to $16.349 trillion.
So let me get this straight.
This is from last year.
If you as a listener out there, you've got a pension. Well, let's say you work for General Electric, and you've got a pension out there, and that pension is being superintended by, I don't know, it's being held in wherever. They just went in and took actually withdrew money out of your pension account, basically, to service the debt. That's what you're saying.
This is for federal government, for the Federal Employees Retirement System Fund.
Okay, well, all right. So let's say you work for the post office then.
Yeah.
So they're using your retirement to service the debt.
Yeah. While they use our tax dollars to enslave us at the same time. The problem is this, it's planned. It's by design. The waste, the getting rid of. I mean, they had to work hard to get rid of the self-reliance, the true capitalism model that built the most richest nation in the shortest time, which was America, through the Industrial Revolution, and we became the most prosperous nation on earth through free market capitalism. Now we have fascism, and this is what it looks like.
And yes, and to those new listeners, just remember that fascism, fascism, communism, socialism, they're all far left ideologies. They're not. None of that is on the far right. People tend to think, well, fascism is from neoconservatism. No,
there's left fascists and right fascists. The left fascists move in through socialism. The right fascists move in through more of a takeover, from what I've seen through the short history I've looked into, just in America.
Well,
I mean, I look at the Bush administration. We had 9/11, and they took over different things and agencies through that manipulation and terror. Now we have this communist Obama who's come in with a socialist model. So they have the two-pronged attack for either way, and they can use vague languages and make great promises to their base constituents that will never be fulfilled, and they can carry out their agenda of monopolizing on all the corporations. Either way, it's led to where we are today.
Yes.
So now we have these mega conglomerate corporations in bed with the banks, in bed, with the governments, and the government's taking over. And we see it with the healthcare industry now. It's being taken over by the government.
Sorry about that. Yes, indeed. I just got a note here from Clark. Thank you, Clark. Just responding to your question on the show tonight, I cannot risk being identified. Clark, by the way, is not his real name.
Okay.
All right. I just had to think of Clark Griswold from Family Vacation. Okay. Seriously, I had to pick out a name somewhere.
Got it. 661-244-9839.
Yeah. He says it's got to do with my Christian faith being born again. The family doesn't accept it. And if you think about that, is that at the heart of what we're really talking about, Joe? The being born again, where like a family would not accept that conversion, if you will.
Yeah,
I mean, is that? And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Part. Why? I mean, my question would be, what is the objection to somebody finding faith, finding something that helps better them? Does the family want you to not be better, in better spiritual health and better mental health, happier? That's my question.
That's a good position. I mean, that's a good observation, a good vantage point. I mean, it's different than the way I would look at it. So that's something to think about.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Just like a family member would step in, just like you would step in or had stepped in when I was young and doing stupid things to stop me from doing those things, right? You would encourage me when doing good things. Why would it seem to be the opposite?
And that you summarize that very well. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you had, let's say,
that's a microcosm of a larger problem.
Yeah.
And okay,
I mean, just say your wife wanted to, start volunteering at, Christian missionary place serving food to homeless people.
Right.
And she got and wanted to do that, and through that process started to become a better person and seeking the Lord. And are you going to say, this is really bothering me, your happiness and helping people? It's really causing a problem in our family. I mean, I just don't see somebody can have that position against another person, especially in their family.
See, and I've been seeing more and more of this, and I thought maybe it was just me, but since you brought it up, where people are saying I'm born again, or I always have trouble using that sentence, by the way, born again, because to me it's kind of an erroneous. It doesn't reflect to me what I believe. Being born again doesn't really reflect the belief system. It has a different connotation in my mind, anyway. But that said, I think that there are a lot of people out there, and I've been seeing this in emails I've been getting, where people are actually where the biggest antagonism is, especially in families, or when people say that they're born again or they're following the Lord. It's almost as if they are being targeted by their families and saying, you're brainwashed. It's not. There's such an antagonistic bent toward anyone who is in that mindset. I don't know if I explained that correctly, but it's almost if you tell your family, look, I'm born again, or any variation thereof, it seems like families are treating you like you just you're put on robes and you're selling flowers at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
That you need help. It's an occult thing. It's a cult thing, and once again, I'm seeing that more and more, and it's been weighing heavily on my mind, and I don't know. All right, let's move on.
We're going to go to the phones. We're going to go to, I think, Sheila, or no, 856.
856.
You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi, guys. Glad to hear you well again, Doug. Glad you're feeling better.
Yes, I am. A little wiped out, but okay.
That's great. To answer your question, Joe, about the families,
yeah,
I can't tell my kids nothing. My son, he gets angry, and I can't. If he sees me even looking like I'm going to say something about anything, he'll tell me right off he don't want to hear it.
Sure. Did you tell us, and it might not be you, but did you tell us that when you had ordered some food, long-term storage food,
yeah.
Was that you that said that you're...
Yeah, that was me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I ordered it was $800 worth of prepared foods, and he had to bring it in to me because I couldn't carry it in. And
right.
Oh, he had a fit. And I said, somebody's got to watch your back, But, see, I haven't forgotten you saying, Doug, that you got an email from a woman a couple weeks ago where her and her son got into it over this very thing. And now they're not speaking. Well, see,
yes.
I hope she's listening. I know when to back off. I look at it and I don't take it personally. I just look at it as, they're ignorant to what's going on. They're not paying attention to what's going on, and I can't make them. All I can do is try to tell them, but if they don't want to hear it, I just know when to back off and let it go. When I bought that prepared food, he told me, I'm going to have to put you away somewhere. He said, you're going crazy. And I told him, I said, Matthew, you can think whatever you want, but it's coming, and when it does, I said, you ain't going to know what to do.
Sure, how old is he, can I ask?
My son is 36 years old. I got a daughter that's 40. She's a Christian, has no clue. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
Well,
yeah.
Sheila, one thing I can gather from what you said is I mean, you're doing what you can. You're planting that seed, and we can just pray, and we'll pray for you and hope that seed, grows to where he starts to see things differently. I know my mom. There was a time where I didn't want to hear anything, she had to say about church, about God, even though I believed in God. I just wasn't in a good place in my life. And people can change, and it might take a kick in the butt. It might just take a short epiphany of some kind.
Well,
but it can,
he's a good provider. His wife works. They both make good money. They're fortunate, and at this point, they're too comfortable because they're not feeling the effects of anything that's going on around us yet, So that plays a big part in this. If you start seeing tanks rolling down the street, maybe I'll, what's up, But once in a while, I'll try to say something to him. But here lately, I have a really hard time keeping my mouth shut because I said to a friend of mine, I've got one friend that pays attention to all this, and we talk on the phone, and I told her, I said, if we think what we're seeing going on right now is bad enough, I said, wait till if he's reelected, and he's going to start moving quick, and that's exactly what he's doing. This gun issue is, well, just like you're saying, I mean, insurance companies are getting involved in it. Now the schools want to know who the parents are with guns. They got to tell them what kind of guns, how many. You can see where that's going. They're corralling the people. I went over on Andrew Breitbart's website, and I don't normally go over there, but I did the other day, and I didn't really know him until he died. And on his website, there was an article on there where there was a text message picked up by Obama when he was in church before he was, he's sworn back in again. And he said, after I'm sworn in, he says, we're going to have to move quick. Now, who that text was sent to, they didn't say. But is this what he was referring to? Because this here is moving really quick.
Okay, Sheila, I'm not sure I caught the. I'm not. You're going to have to explain that again. On the Andrew Breitbart site, you referenced a text.
Yeah, he had an article on there about a text message that Obama sent from a church that they were sitting in right before they left to go get sworn in. He's saying, after I'm sworn in, we have to move quick. Well, we're saying this move quick.
But it did not give the context in which he was speaking. It was just a general.
It was just a general.
Okay.
You just knew that there's, he has a plan. And what, this has been 2 weeks now, and look where we're at as far as the gun issue goes. I didn't watch the inauguration.
True.
Huh?
No,
what
that's
did you
true.
say,
I
Doug?
mean, it's very true that it's obvious that Obama is moving quick in a number of areas, but the gun issue is front and center at this point. But who knows whatever else he's got.
You said a few minutes ago, what else is going on? We got all these stories about the gun issue. Well, India and Pakistan's ready to go to war. You got the Indian president over there telling his people to dig bunkers and get ready. They're getting ready to go to war. Huh?
Correct. And China and Japan as well. So, you've got all of these other hotspots across the globe. And that's a direct result, Sheila, of the United States appearing to be weak.
Exactly. I still don't understand what all this mess is over in Africa. What is his deal with Africa? because they're getting stirred up over there as well.
That is an extension. That's an extension, Sheila, of what was going on in Benghazi. The Algerian hostage situation, that has connections to AQIM. AQIM has got connections to Syria, to Libya, and really all of Africa. And they're responsible for bringing in guns and also WMDs into South America for use in North America. So just keep that in mind. Yes.
Did you see John Kerry's speech yesterday?
No.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit what he said, how he was going to impose Obama's vision for the world or on the world.
Yeah, we saw the highlights. Anyway, I did. Saw the highlights.
Well, I listened to a few minutes of him. I can't stand him. I mean, when he ran for president and lost, he didn't even have the courtesy to come out and, concede. He sent John Edwards out there to do it for him, and that's pretty much said about him. But yesterday, he said the New World Order, like 4 times within a period of a couple minutes. So you know where he's going, with his position. So the only thing I saw that I got a chuckle at Monday was a video that Alex Jones had over on his website. Was the TSA was there, and all the people that came there to see the inauguration had to go through TSA just like they do in the airports. And the people were getting angry, because they were searching them and going through all the bags and whatnot. They couldn't have a specific size water and, the same crap they're doing in the airports. And, one man said, are we going to see an inauguration or are we going to jail? And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you know what? You made the blitzer on your butt, now you're going to sit on it. You people voted for him, you're going to reap what he's done.
Absolutely.
They don't know it. They don't know it. These people sit and watch the news, clip here, clip there, and they're not really seeing what's really going on here, and it's going to get ugly, real ugly. I worry for these kids. See, Doug, Joe, I'm a do person. I come from a military background with my husband, and he was gone a lot, and I had to do everything, and I've always gotten up and done everything, and I want to get out. See, I can't even get out to walk. I just lost a really close friend of mine this past week, and my friend asked me, Sheila, would you please come to the funeral home? And I said, Lois, I'll be there if I have to crawl on my hands and knees. So I was able to get there just barely. And I knew then I had to start using a wheelchair because I don't. And I thought, well, you know what? With what's going on here, if I have to get my good friend Betsy, and use my wheelchair to go do what I got to do, that's what I want to do. Somebody's got to do it.
Well, yeah, and God bless you for doing what you do, and even at the point of being infirmed, you're doing what you can do, and that's what people have to. We collectively have to kind of suck it up, and exactly. I don't mean to sound crass, but
no, you don't.
We've got to do what we got to do, and because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? So anyone listening to this broadcast, yeah, you might have some problems, physical impairments, but you can still play your position in whatever way you can, and we all have to do this.
You know what?
We need organization too. Yes. I
got two ministries that I support that carries the Word of God across this globe. I support Jay Sokolow. He does a lot of fighting for Christians and the abortion problems we got and the homosexual agenda, all of it. You know, I can't get out there and protest and do whatever. I have to do it with money, you know, and they're my voice, you know, and that's the way I have to deal with it. As much as I'd like to be hands-on, I just can't, you know, but I pray every day for God's protection on this house, and I know that whatever comes, He's going to be in the midst of it, you know, and He's going to help all of us. And I think about Sandy that calls you once in a while, you know. I don't know if she's living alone, but, you know, God love her, and I hope she's okay, and she's not to be afraid because God's with all of us, you know. And that email you got from Steve, what a great email. Thank you for your service, Steve. You know, I just love you guys, and it's a good forum, and we all need each other. And we know that you probably have taken a beating because of what you're putting out. And I'm telling you right now, I'm looking for the Internet to be the next thing on the agenda.
You know what, Sheila? I think the Internet, and I was talking to somebody about this today, I don't think they're going to shut it down, but they're going to throttle the information. They're going to censor the information.
And we've seen that being completed already through hacks on websites, attacks, where you go onto a website and it attacks your computer. They set up fake websites. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that they are doing. And there's I saw a new story out about the ability to get to your private information on your computer and cell phone through your computer in different forms, and I'll have to find that article, but that's something that we definitely will be addressing. Is there anything else, Sheila?
No, that's it. I love you guys. I love everybody that listens. I enjoy listening to everybody. So you guys take care, and we're all in this boat together.
Indeed we are. Thank you, Sheila, for your call. God bless you, Sheila. Thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
Right. Bye.
And you know what, Joe? We are all in this together. We every one of us, whether you're listening to this alone or with your family or with your workmates or whatever, we're in this together. And I talked to somebody today who said, and I forgot to tell you this before the program, Joe, but he said, you know, you guys really need to get some sort of something going where people can find you if the Internet does shut off, or somehow where you can
smoke signals.
Yeah, smoke signals. But somehow coordinate, develop this system where you can have, you know. Yeah,
I understand.
He said, look, you're going to have to, I mean, like it or not, you're in a kind of a leadership position, so
I mean, we're working on things behind the scenes and doing things, but there's two of us here, and we get sidetracked a lot, you know, with research and the information you're writing about. But we are working on other things, and it's difficult. It's slow going, but we are putting in the work, and we still have a lot of things people we have to talk with, things we have to do. There's obligations on our part that we would have to enter into to do different things too. So, you know, we got to take these things to prayer, to our families. We have to figure out, is this going to, you know, will these things work if things start to happen a certain way? Would it even matter? These are not easy decisions to make. As you know, the people who have been listening to us, we're not news broadcasters or radio hosts by profession. We got into this, and the Lord has led us to where we are today.
Yep.
And we're just going to rely on Him to continue to lead us in the right direction, not making any drastic changes or doing anything without that discernment. And that's important.
You know, and I agree, but I worry about the people who are alone. But
let me give you a word of advice. You don't need us. You don't need pastors. You don't need the news. You just need that relationship with the Lord in your Bible, and you'll be fine. I do understand. I enjoy listening to shows and things, but if it ever came down to it, there was no ability to do any of that. I'm going to get my direction from the Lord, as I do every day. I don't get the direction from the shows or the people.
No, it should be information.
Yeah, and it does help with the ideas, but basically what it boils down to is a relationship between you and God, and nothing else.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
That's the worst case scenario as far as not having the accessibility to information and to different media outlets and whatever it is that we enjoy now.
Right. But what I think we need to do, though, and we're working on this, is to get some sort of a notification system and communication system worked up where you'll be the first to know. And we always tell people, if something happens, check our website, and that way we can schedule a time to be on the air as long as that's available to us, and give you an update. For example, if something does happen in Israel, the Middle East, or whatever, we'll be there to provide you the information in real time. So, but we're also working on the shortwave aspect of things. We're also working on the terrestrial syndication part of things. That's coming. A whole number of different ways. And we're also looking toward a more 1980s or 1970s style set of communications, kind of like Alex Jones, the way Alex Jones has done, taking it to print. We're also looking at some things there too, just because we always want to be relevant. We always want to be able to give you the information out without. So if one thing is cut off, we can rely on something else. A system of redundancy. That's what we're looking at.
All right, we're going to move on. We're going to go to, I think this is Donna. Donna, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello, guys. How are you? I'm glad you're feeling better, Doug. I called in. I'm one of those I'm all alone people. As far as my family, I'm completely alone because I became a Christian, and they don't approve.
There it is. See,
because
you just said because you became a Christian, your family kind of has abandoned you or shut you out?
Yeah, they talk to me, but they're very standoffish. And then they have all these rules like we can't talk about it. But then if they bring it up, and like my son and I got in an argument, he brought it up, and I stood my ground. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and then he wanted to debate it, and I said this isn't the time or place. You agree we shouldn't talk about this, and then he hung up on me. And hasn't spoke to me since.
It's pretty harsh.
Anyway, yeah, but I love the Lord, and that's the most important thing. I mean, all I can do is pray and hope the Lord touches his heart. That's all I can do. I do have my aunt, so that's good. But as far as like you were saying about like-minded people, I do, store food. Like you said, I'm preparing. And it would be nice if I knew people in the area. I live in Pueblo, Colorado, but I don't. I mean, it's just different these days. My aunt and I were talking about that the other day. She's in L.A., and I said it's not like the old days where, people don't know their neighbors. Everybody seems to be afraid of everybody. And you go to church, and it's like...
You're in the area of Stan and Holly Dale. Okay, just to let you know, Stan and Holly. Okay, so that's something to think about. You're not too far away from them. Holly Dale wrote the book Dare to Prepare. Very good people. So something to keep in the back of your mind. Like-minded people. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in close proximity to the Deos. And that kind of gives you an idea, and it gives others an idea. This is what we're talking about. We can hook you up in a sense. When things do go really bad, some people in the area where you can, not be alone.
Yeah.
So go on, Don. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I forgot my train of thought. Go to church. No, the church is not talking about any of these issues, including the issues Steve talks about, which I think they should be talking about because just from Tom Horn's work, that the DARPA's doing it. I mean, this isn't the genetic stuff and the super soldier program. It's not like it's hidden. It's very easy to find the information. Tom Horn did extensive research proving that it's happening, and you try to mention, we need to talk about that. And then, of course, Pastor talks about not using the computer because it's evil. I'm like, well, it's not really. I guess if you're looking at porn, probably, but if you're looking for research and to be educated, I think it's a very good tool. Oh, by the way, my computer's fried. I have to do it on my cell phone. So that was funny.
Did we do that, or what happened?
I don't know. I had it serviced like 3 months before, and I was in California. Had it completely serviced. Came home, was doing research, using your show, listening to Steve Quayle's show, and one day it just, and I took it over, and he said, "Well, your internal things are fried." I said, "Well, I just had it serviced. How could that be?" But anyway, don't know. So I got to get a new computer. I just thought that was funny. It's not funny because it costs money, but interesting, I guess. Yes. I had questions about. I do know that from Act from America, and then the questions I was asking at the Christian conference I went to about, the Muslims coming into the country from Mexico, because everybody's focusing this whole immigration. Like my aunt was saying, they're letting all the Mexicans in, and I had to educate her and let her know that that's not really what's coming in. And happened to run into a guy at conference who lives in that area. And this is a very big possibility that they could, I think they do have stuff in this country. I'm not going to kid myself. One of the other things you guys talked about last night, some lady mentioned that if something happened to Obama, Joe Biden would be president, obviously. And then I think she was making reference to it. I thought of that movie, The Tail That Wags the Dog. Do you know what I'm referring to? That movie, The Tail That... Okay.
Well,
I don't have to explain that.
Right?
Yeah. And then, of course, he popped back up. Everybody's already hailing him anyway. The point is that there would be riots in this country if that happened. You do know, because it's such a black-white racial division everywhere. And I think that was one thing that she didn't talk about that I thought would probably definitely happen if something like that happened. There would be a huge wave of crime, and look what happened after Dr. Martin Luther King. And I think that's something that would happen, and I wanted to add that in there. I don't know what the ramifications would be of that, but anyway, I thought I was listening last night, and then she kind of forgot to mention the part about the riots. And would that be a way of, if that sort of scenario that they spoke about last night happened, would that be a way of creating such a what is the word, a frenzy of violence everywhere that they could bring in their martial law? And then, of course, if he pops back up and is hailed as the whatever. Anyway, just a thought, mini thought.
Yeah, I don't know if it has to go that far. I mean, I could just see an attempt. Let's just say, and talking hypothetically here, let's just say an attempted assassination on the president. Okay, let's say that did happen, and they caught, for example, a right-wing militia member guy.
Christian.
That was behind the plot. Christian, thank you. What else could we? Let's see. A Christian, and when they caught him, he was carrying a Bible and a Bushmaster. What else could we have him carrying?
He probably had an Aryan Nation tattoo on his back.
Okay, yeah. So
anti-UN bumper sticker on his car.
And let's say Obama
no, just a bumper sticker that says he doesn't like abortion. Forget the tattoos.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. And let's say Obama escaped injury, but can you imagine the mileage that one incident would give the progressive communist left to further? I mean, right away, look, we were lucky. We literally dodged a bullet this time. So now we've got to everybody's got a, and they would demonize the right, they would, or the conservative,
and the Christians.
The Christians, right? They would demonize the Bushmaster. Of course, that's already happened. They would, and of course, they would use that as the springboard for even tighter and more immediate, and more draconian laws against us. So
not to mention, there would be. I think there would be riots, though, too. I think there would be major riots.
Oh yeah, that's right. And let's see, he's got a copy of the book by I'm trying to think of the name of that book now. Silas Marner. Catcher in the Rye or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's right. So could something like this be set up? Absolutely, it could. Especially if they lose mileage on the school shooting from Sandy Hook. If that, peters out, if that begins to peter out, they bring something new out, perhaps. And again, I'm just talking and speculating possibilities. But boy, the rioting, you're right. The rioting would be there.
It would be. Because so, it would be.
And so combine that with the economic possibilities, the crash, the dollar crash. Any one thing could set us back.
And I think we're headed in that direction regardless.
I do too.
And the only question, we need to have answered is, are we spiritually ready for that scenario where we will have to rely on our faith to get us through the troubling times? And we have to get there spiritually. All the physical preparedness in the world isn't going to help us if we don't have the discernment to know what to do in those times.
Well, that's what my aunt and I prayed about. I was crying yesterday all day. I called her. We sat and had a long prayer about, basically prayed that the Holy Spirit would touch those of our relatives that won't, that can't hear us because they're, the devil won't let them hear us. So we just prayed about it, that the Holy Spirit would do that for us because we've done all we can verbally. And that's where we've been. Our prayers have been lately. It's just calling each other and having these prayer sessions on the phone because she's in L.A., so she's the only relative I have that's Christian. And so that's what we've been doing. And hopefully through that, I know through that because he can do anything. And that's what we're going to keep doing. As far as, I don't know when this economic thing, if that's the way they're going to do it. I have no idea how they're going to do it.
It's a growing possibility to me. It looks like this could come down as early as March, end of March, around that time period. You know what, Donna, while we're on the air here, I just received an email from Laura. It kind of reminds me of your situation, Donna. She writes, sadly, guys, I too, like Clark, was rejected by my entire family when, at 19 years old, I became saved by Jesus. I was raised by a devout Catholic family. I still have no relationship with any of my siblings. I have had a few positive encounters with my parents in the last couple of years, although after 18 years, they still will not acknowledge my relationship with Christ. It doesn't stop me, though. Bless God. And that's from Laura. And so that, it kind of sounds like, Donna, you're not in this, no one's alone in this. It seems like we all have our situations.
No, it's my love for Jesus that keeps me going. I'm a sinner. I'm not the most perfect Christian in the world, but I do love the Lord Jesus, and that's what keeps me going no matter what. So I tell myself, nope, I'm not here to please other people. I'm here to please the Lord Jesus Christ. That's who I'm going to spend eternity with. That's who I want to please. So, anyway, I just,
very good.
I am sad for other people. They don't see it, and it does make me sad. And when I try to educate, even aside from the religious part of it, try to educate my, family, they don't want to listen. I usually get the standard response as, I don't want to hear about it. I just want to watch TV and watch good stuff and be in a good mood. And that's the standard response I get. No, I just want to watch TV, watch a movie, feel good. I don't want to listen to what you're saying. There's nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to watch a movie and feel good. And you really should stop doing that. You should just live for today and feel good. I'm just telling you the stuff I'm getting. This is the kind of stuff when you try to educate. This is what they tell me, and that's like, okay.
We see it. Yeah, we see it with people ourselves every day. And it is just
I
all
pray
we can do
for them.
is pray for those people. Yeah,
that's what I do. I pray for them, and it would be nice, to have. Well, it would be nice to have a husband, but my husband decided to trade me in for the new model. So not much I can do about that. It is what it is, and I'm sure God has a plan in it. I just can't see it right now. I'm going to get a new computer, though.
That's good. That way you can keep it positive.
So, you guys, right. God bless you guys, and I'll just keep hanging in there. And I do have a question. Should I get my money out of the stock market?
Oh, yeah, personally...
I'm not rich, but I do have some money in the stock market, and I was wondering, I talked to my stockbroker, and I'm like, I think I want to cash out, and he was trying to tell me, oh, no, things are going to get better. It's just a setback, and it's just a setback, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm starting to feel kind of like funny about it.
I don't have any money, but...
Yeah, we don't have any stock market investments, but one thing I'll say, if it was me, and I had money in the stock market, and any kind of a thing that is attached to the paper money, as the QE3 is printing money to the point where our currency is worthless, assets, things that you would need, things that are tangible and hold value, is where the only place I would put my money right now, personally.
Yeah, and Don, I would say this: if it were me, okay, now I'm closer, I believe, closer in age to you than Joe. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, but anyway, look, I would never, if I had a 401k or any type of investment, I would not have it. I would have, my theory is this: if you cannot touch it, guard it with a rifle, see it with your eyes, and physically possess it, you don't own it. And now, having said that, not knowing if you've got $50 or $50 million in the stock market or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. The principle is the same. You're when the crash happens and when people are,
that money will disappear.
Yes, it's gone. Look what happened with MF Global.
Yeah.
Ask your your stockbroker. Ask him about MF Global. If it's
I told him to watch. I made him go watch her, Ann Barnhart. And came out. Good. I made him go watch her, and then he doesn't believe her.
Well, holy cow! It's not to believe. It's all fact.
We got an article here that the U.S. banks have been shaken by the biggest deposit withdrawal since 9/11, and it goes on to state the first week of January 2013 has seen that $114 billion in withdrawals from 25 of the U.S.'s biggest banks, pushing deposits down to $5.3 trillion, according to the U.S. Fed. And they say that is because it could be down due to the transaction account guarantee insurance program that came to an end on December 31st, meaning your money that is in the bank is no longer insured by the government, where they used to say your money's insured up to $250,000.
Right, and Barnhart goes into that in a 2.5-hour show or presentation.
Yeah,
and it's okay. That tells me that it's fact. I mean, what she presented is not hypothetical. It's the way things are, and wow. So look, you can do what you feel. I mean, take it to prayer, but certainly if it was me, like I said, whether I had $50 or $500 million, I would get out.
I don't have that kind of money, but I'm just thinking. Okay, you say touch it, feel it. So once I get it, what do I do with it then? Once I get the check, I have to put it somewhere to get something.
Well,
now you got me. I'm not sure what to do with it. Once I get the check, got to pay the tax part of it because they're going to tag me 20%, and then I guess I got to take a trip to Montana, huh?
well, pay off your debts. If you have any debts, pay them off. That'd be number one. That to me. I mean, look, I'll tell you, please don't send me emails, people. For
debts and at the same time, where we're at right now, food.
Yep.
The ability to be self-reliant in situations that you would not normally find yourself in.
That's right.
Oh, shoot, I'm on a corner house. I'm a Target. You don't realize this house is on a corner. I'm a Target house. I'm going to have to get bars on every single window.
Well, you know what? Pretty inexpensively. And I found this to be the case. You can buy both an alarm system and the surveillance system, a camera surveillance.
I have an alarm system through ADT.
Okay.
But a lot of good. The police last time I got broken into, and there was an intruder in my home. It took them 2 hours to get here.
Well, see, to me, the alarm system, Donna, is not for the police. No. It's for me.
Yeah.
Okay, to let me know somebody has breached the security. Yeah. So, so then I would also have something to protect yourself and your assets with.
Yeah. They take their .50 caliber out of underneath the pillowcase.
Okay.
So I would do this: service your debts with that money.
Okay.
Make sure that you've got, food, enough food tucked away. You don't have to go crazy. You can just have enough food, and something to protect your assets with as well. And I would say silver and gold too. If you've got that much silver, especially because there's industrial applications for silver, and silver's kind of going very quickly. So, but this is what I would do personally. I would make sure that I didn't have any.
That's the question. Then is who do you get it from?
Okay. Personally, now there are many places you can go to, but personally, I hooked my father-in-law up because I did a search on this. Where do you buy gold and silver from? Mm-hmm. And so I went through all the places on the internet. I called Steve up. He said, "Well, I sell gold and silver." I said, "Well, okay, that's fine." But to be fair, I just want to know where else I could get it from. Anyway, the bottom line is I sent my father-in-law to Steve because in the end he had provided the best.
That's what I was thinking, Steve.
And look local too.
Yeah, look local. Yeah.
I would shop around. I've looked at many different stores locally, and I've found some to be bad and some to be very good, surprisingly. So
it all depends. But I would definitely. Steve's one. Steve always. Well, I took care of my father-in-law pretty well. So.
Okay.
But, it wasn't a huge amount of money he invested either. So. We're talking normal people money, not.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, but at least I'll have it. And then I did buy from your company Brick Pack. Brick Pack, is that what it's called? The Bricks Pack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got one of those. I support you guys. So I got it.
It's actually a friend. He's a freeze dry guy. Is really a good guy, and he will spend time with you if you got any questions or anything like that. But
freeze dry guy. Okay, I'll keep him too.
Right.
Yeah, I'm loading up on food. I got food. Don't believe me. I even bought portable toilets. I'm sorry, but I was sitting there thinking if everything went down, you still have to go to the bathroom.
That's right. That's a good thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Have a good night.
Bye.
Short messages for our third and final hour. Give us a call, 621-244-9829. Let's go back.
If you're stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have a long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies that work right there in your neighborhood: KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations that work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Doug Hagmann. One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our third and final hour of this January 25th, Friday, 2013 edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We are taking calls and covering some news. This out of the New American gun owners refused to register under New York law after Democrats in New York ran a sweeping assault on the right to keep and bear arms through the legislature that failed to exempt police officers from the draconian restrictions, gun owners and even some lawmakers are planning what has been dubbed potentially the largest act of civil disobedience in state history. According to news reports, gun rights advocates are urging everyone to defy the far-left Governor Cuomo's new registration mandate while daring authorities to come and take it. Analysis says the legislation passed in a frenzy last week in the wake of the Newtown shooting represents the most brazen infringement on the right to keep and bear arms anywhere in the nation. Among other points, the so-called SAFE Act seems to limit magazines to just 7 bullets, require virtually all the estimated 1 million semi-automatic rifles in the state to be registered with authorities, mandate reporting of patients who express indications that they may have thoughts about hurting themselves or others by doctors and more. Aside from unconstitutional, experts on gun violence also point out that the draconian schemes are a bad idea. Studies have repeatedly shown that more guns lead to less crime, and the phenomenon is obvious across America. Just compare Chicago and D.C. to that of Alaska or Wyoming. The mandate reports requirements for doctors, meanwhile, have come under fire from across the political spectrum, whether it will even be possible to enforce the bill. However, that remains to be seen.
I'm going to tell you right now, and folks, you can take this to the bank, and this is the official position of the Hagmann and the Hagmann Report, Doug Hagmann, on this 25th day of January 2013. I will not comply with any registration of my guns. I will not submit to any registration. I will not willingly give up any weapons. I will not, I'm going to tell you right now, right here, right now, registration leads to confiscation, leads to genocide. It's that simple. It's written in history. It's proven by history. You want my guns, you're not going to get my guns willingly. Okay, that's end of story. And, look, I understand, too. And let me just say this one more time. I understand how people in different forums, they say, well, when they come for my guns, gee, I sold them, 5 years ago, or I lost them in a boating accident. Boy, chuckle. Okay, no, they're not coming just for your guns. They are coming for you. It's you that they're afraid of. It's you, the gun owner, the independent thinker, the person that presents that speed bump in the road to their ultimate destination of global governance and complete submission. It's you thereafter, in addition to your guns. But I'll tell you right now, we will not comply. We will not comply.
No.
And just as we said before too, we will not comply with any TSA checkpoint, with any unconstitutional search and seizure. It is we are, the Constitution has delineated God-given rights, and those are our God-given rights. No one can take away our God-given rights, and that's just my position. Just to be clear, to the federal authorities listening, not going to comply.
Right. I'm just going to correct you, though. They can take away our rights. They're doing it. And they can take away our life. As we see in other countries, they've done it in the past. One thing they can't take away is our soul. But
that's right. Well,
it goes along with non-complying with evil.
That's correct. Tolerance of evil, that's when tolerance becomes evil itself. And, this is not just about our generation. This is about our children and our children's children, is it not? Are we not talking about this? Just like Donna and the others who have, we'll say, a house and some stored wealth. This is about maintaining, at least attempting to maintain, that level of wealth or of money or of sustenance that you've earned. It's a representation of your life. This is your lifeblood. What you own is a result of what you've worked for all of your life. The hours that you've worked, it's part of you. So for them to loot and pillage and plunder what you have developed, what you've owned, what you've made, the time you invested. It's not right. And we certainly are not going to allow, nor should we allow, our children to be mortgaged. And you've got Geithner, and you've got Bernanke, and you've got these Keynesian fools out there who, it's a sin. It's a sin. It's an affront to God, and it's an affront to us as children of God. Mm-hmm. And we have to say no, and we have to do it collectively. Because if we don't do it collectively, we are going to hang separately, I guess, or hang. Yeah. We're going to hang. See, and that's it. This is as much a spiritual battle as it is a practical battle. And we are fighting evil incarnate. I mean, this is
on many different levels. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what Steve has been talking about too. And by the way, well, I'm not even getting into that. Let's just go on.
We're going to go to area code 917, then Pierre, and then Vernon. 917, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann report. What's going on, guys? How are you?
Very well. What's up?
You hit it right on the head. It's weird because I was actually calling you particularly to talk about China. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Jerome Corsi is from WMD.
Oh, sure.
Okay, well,
sure.
He was just talking.
Yeah. But by the way, Jerry and I we're friends, and he's been on our program before.
What a great guy. He was talking earlier today about China and how our federal government met up with the banks of China today. And basically, to paraphrase what he said is, the globalists have hijacked our economy to use China as leverage. And since our money isn't worth anything, they're basically getting their debt paid off through equity and assets. And I have a friend who lives in Pennsylvania, and he told me that they got rid of his sheriff where he lives, and instead of his sheriff, which is I think like $40,000 or $50,000 a year, they just invested in like 14 or 15 DHS trucks that they have driving around. I think he's down over in like Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, or somewhere over there. And he was at one of these little like diner spots out there, and there was a bunch of Chinese troops in there. And he's pretty awake to everything. And he went up to the table, and he asked them, and he said, "Hey, really politely, said, hey, what are you guys doing here?" And they just started laughing at him, talking in Chinese to each other. And it wouldn't surprise me because I also heard, and Doug, this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you last night, is if any of your sources or your connections have told you about the United States moving valuable assets 200 miles away from the coastline. Have you heard anything like that?
No. I'm not sure.
You've heard of movements happening, but not pertaining to the coast.
Well, yeah. Go ahead and explain what you're talking about, if you know what specifically. What
I'm pretty sure it was that guy John Moore.
Okay.
But he said somebody from FEMA was telling him that they moved any valuable asset within 200 miles of the coastline, and not just on the east or the west or the south, the whole entire United States. And the only reason why somebody would do something like that is whether there's a tsunami coming or some sort of invasion.
Well, when you say valuable assets, what do you mean? Like, what
he didn't really get into specifics. You know how sometimes in the first 3 minutes of a show he'll mention some things and then he'll go on to talk about something else.
Sure.
But it was funny because I called you last night. One of the things I wanted to ask you that I didn't get to, do you guys know Executive Order 12425 that was signed on December 16th, 2 days after Sandy Hook?
Refresh my memory here.
I I don't know the full technical name of it, but I guess it's the Interpol with the International Police. And this all ties into, the rumors of the 150,000 Palestinians, the Chinese troops being here, the Chinese having their own sovereign, networks of land here in the United States, selling them the river, the oil in Montana that you were talking about. It's basically an executive order that gives the International Police Force permission. It's made up of Palestinian troops, Turkish troops, Russian troops, and Chinese troops. It's Executive Order 12425.
Okay, I'm looking at the executive, right from the White House website, the listing of executive orders. You've got December 27th executive order, adjustments of certain rates of pay. Of course, you remember that, causing some brouhaha about Biden's salary. And then December 21st, you've got reestablishment of advisory commission. And then on the same day, executive order closing of executive departments and agencies of the federal government. And then December 7th, establishing the Hurricane Sandy Rebuilding Task Force. December 6th, establishment of an interagency task force on commercial advocacy. And that's the last one before October 26th. So let's look at the establishment of an interagency task force on commercial advocacy. It doesn't have any number associated with it, but it appears to.
There's an article on this.
Okay. Which one is it, though?
Interpol's Obama protectionism. This is from December 27, 2009. It goes on to say an executive order amending the executive order 12425 designating Interpol as a public international organization entitled to enjoy certain privileges, exemptions, and immunities by the authority invested in the President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, to extend in order to extend the appropriate privileges, exemptions, and immunities of the International Criminal Police Organization. Interpol is hereby ordered that Executive Order 12425 of June 16, 1983, as amended, is further amended by deleting from the first sentence of the words, except those provided in section. Okay, so they changed.
So, okay, there is an amendment. Okay, Executive Order 13524 amends 12425.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was done.
The sheriff that when I was writing it down, maybe he was just off on his dates a little bit.
Okay.
It just made me think, because when I hear that a couple of days ago, and then I listened to Dr. Corsi today, it kind of ties everything in together, plus what my friend saw in Pennsylvania. And you just got to think about it. I mean,
yeah, this is interesting. It goes on to say, upon reading this, many people would just pass over the legalese and as nothing to worry about. Scrutiny of the particular section referenced proves how nefarious this action is to America. Section C reads, property and assets of international organizations, wherever located and by whomsoever held, shall be immune from search unless such immunity be expressly waived from confiscation. The archives of international organizations shall be unavoidable. This unavoidable by even United States sovereignty that would include Interpol office in the Department of Defense. This protects Interpol from the Freedom of Information Act. Several bloggers have pointed out that the U.S. could hand documents to Interpol to keep them from American citizens. The President has now exempted Interpol from such search and seizure. This places Interpol above the FBI, CIA, and the Constitution.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about, caller. All right, and Joe, I see what you're talking about. I know that this was the subject of a Snopes review, and of course, Snopes being a George Soros-funded organization, husband and wife team, who I never mind. But yes. Okay, so, but your point. Let me ask you this, caller, about the Chinese troops. Were they dressed as Chinese troops, or were they dressed as?
He said they were. He said that's what I asked him. I said, were they wearing Chinese military outfits? And he said they were just really. You could tell they were military because they had these weird he's a Marine. He used to be in the Marines, and he said they just had weird camos on. He said he's never seen that sort of uniform before, and he's pretty much awake to everything. And he just really politely went up to their table, introduced himself, and they wouldn't give him an answer about anything. And all he did was ask them, "So what are you guys doing here?" Real politely. And they just laughed at him, and they started talking to each other. And he was just like,
just to be clear, where was this? Where was this in the country?
Somewhere in Pennsylvania, around like Scranton, Wilkes-Barre.
Okay.
Somewhere over there.
Well, look, any listeners in the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area of Pennsylvania, if you have any information about this, please give us a call or send us an email, and we'd like to follow through on this. But go ahead, caller.
The other question I have for you is, I don't know if you guys heard, I don't know the validity of this. I heard it on Pastor Butch Williams. I also heard it on this other Christian radio station I listened to. But two nights ago, they had a TSA checkpoint with assistance from local authorities in Texas, and they pulled over a 53-foot 18-wheeler, and the driver said that he worked for FEMA, and they said, "Okay, we're just going to check your vehicle." And in the back of the truck, they found signs that said martial law is in effect from front to back of this truck. And I didn't know if you guys heard about that.
We're constantly getting emails about things like that, and a lot of them are repeats from 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very cautious with that type of information. In other words, I would treat information like that with a grain of salt.
Yep.
Right. Now, that's not saying didn't happen or is not happening. I would require more evidence than just, a friend of a friend type thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this information is being put out there to make us look like Looney Tunes.
Exactly.
You know that. So.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing you were talking about with China, it makes sense that they how they call Obama the monkey man, not because he's black, but because he's basically a puppet and he's trained to do what he has to do. And you pretty much know that when you owe somebody a tremendous amount of money, you pretty much have to do what you have to do for them. And it also relates to these nations that were destabilizing. I mean, I know, Gaddafi wasn't a great guy, but he didn't have any debt to the IMF. He treated his citizens, if they got married, he gave them houses, farmland, cattle. He gave them free college education, free health care. It's the same thing going on in Syria right now. And when you don't owe these people any money, like Syria, I'm pretty sure they have their own currency and they're not in any debt to the IMF. That pisses these globalist banksters off, because then they can't use that power, that debt as leverage.
Right.
And the thing with China is kind of like, no wonder why they recommended, Obama take their guns, because they eventually, and I can't even believe that I would even have to think about this or say it, but I mean, if they really wanted to take us over because we owe them money, it kind of seems like from all these little signs going on that's kind of what we're in the middle of.
Well, yeah, but the caller, I just want to say this too, and how much sense would this make, and to the listeners as well. Let's say let's say your neighbor, your neighbor owed you, I don't know, $80,000. Okay, you lent your neighbor $80,000, and their entire wealth was in their house, and what was inside their house. That was their entire wealth. And you held that mortgage basically because they owe you that money. Are you going to go in there, or are you going to take a missile and put it through their house and destroy the house and everything inside? Or are you going to want to ensure that the house and everything inside is relatively in good shape, and then take it over if they don't pay you. This is the kind of the mindset where I'm at. In other words, if we owe China this much money, which we do, it would seem to me counterproductive for China to want to like destroy our infrastructure or destroy us, drop a bomb on us, we'll say.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that very thing. Like, why would you want to ruin the property and the infrastructure?
Right.
You wouldn't. But that's why I think that, these people are obviously evil. And if you owe somebody money, I mean, look at the U.S. jobs that are getting shipped over there. That's probably just a vessel of paying back debt slowly but surely, because they know our money isn't worth anything, and they don't want our dollars because they're part of the BRICS nation. They don't want any currency from us. They want valuable assets. They want property, and they want natural resources, and they want jobs so that they could profit off of that. You know how China is with it's like communism with a little fake facade of capitalism mixed in. For the rich people, the real powerful people, they get to do what they want, and then everybody else below them suffers. So it kind of makes me think, like, why are American cars being shipped over there and they're making them over there? How come everything on the shelf in every corporation in America, Walmart, Home Depot, Bye Bye Baby, everything is made in China?
Right.
I mean, what can you get in America? You can't even get an American car that's made in America anymore.
It's very difficult to find anything made in America. But I'll tell you one thing. This is one thing that our family is consciously doing. If we have the opportunity to purchase, if we need something, because we're down to the point of we don't buy anything unless we need it. But if we need something, we try to make sure it's made in America, or buy from an American corner store type thing, like a local hardware.
Yeah, I support buying locally more than anything else, right, even if it costs a couple extra bucks here or there, because what's the point of supporting Walmarts and these places that are using your money against you, partnering up with the Department of Homeland Security, refusing to give you services because of how the government believes, like selling ammunition and such. But
yeah, exactly. Well, good points. All good points, caller. And certainly we're putting that call out again to anyone in the northern part of Pennsylvania around Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. If you have seen the presence of Chinese troops or whatever, paramilitary people, let us know. Drop us a line or give us a call, because we want to follow through on that a little bit more.
Yeah, we're going to move on. We appreciate your call, and God bless you. You have a great weekend. You too. God bless you.
Interesting. Very good.
We're going to go to Vernon. And
Vernon.
We're going to go to Pierre.
Hey, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
Very well, Vernon. You're looking spiffy, man.
I wish. That was a very interesting call, because I actually had called in about when you first started talking about relationships and sharing the Lord Jesus Christ. But I have to speak on what the gentleman was just talking about. There has been reports that I've heard. How true they were, I don't know. But like he was saying, up in Scranton, some people were reporting activity of Chinese troops. They was reporting that around the same time they was reporting that there's a compound somewhere in Texas, and also that certain, I think it was 50 acres of land somewhere in the Midwest. Chinese were on our soil along with Russia out in the Midwest. So I don't know. But, like you said,
I don't know either.
We get a lot of reports of this. I know they train foreign troops. They train with foreign troops on American soil. Who stays and who goes, how do you even know? They could be wearing American uniforms and staying at the bases. I mean, until I see, proof of long-term troops of another nationality, living in American bases. And I don't doubt they're here. I know through the UN and.
I mean, more than the cross training. You mean?
Yeah.
There is that cross training aspect of things. We understand that, but is there something more than that?
I know a lot of those troops that you're talking about has to do with the UN troops that come in and train on our soil. But usually they're Italian, French, pretty much our allies. I never really heard of any like Russian troops. I mean, here it is. We're sitting out in the Gulf, locked and loaded. Russia locked on us, and we're locked on Russia. Now, Obama is talking. They're talking about Obama has focused his attention in the Pacific because of what's going on out there. So I can't. I'm trying not to fathom. I'm trying not to believe the reports that we have opposition forces on our soil. But the more and more I start to hear it, I actually have to wonder about that.
Yeah, we can only. It's one thing to get the same report over and over again, and it's another thing to get multiple reports unsubstantiated. But when you start getting reports from all different parts of the country, from different sources,
right?
You got to wonder, okay, what's going on here?
Right.
Now, again, that's not to say that they're all true. Even if half are true, then that's still disconcerting.
Yeah. But either way it goes, because I heard you were talking about, that little scenario, somebody owed you money and would you nuke their home. But we have to keep in mindset too, Doug, that we're dealing with a mentality where they want to destroy 2/3 of the population. Bill Gates even came out and told you, you're not sustainable under Agenda 21. So
right.
I wouldn't, and being that they, are Luciferian, I wouldn't put nothing past them, type thing. But I go along with you on one thing. Come and get it.
That's right. Thank you, Vernon. I mean, see, we have to stick together in this respect because that's we're not looking to take the battle to them. I mean, look at the Battle of Concord and Lexington and how that played out. The English came to take the arms of the American soldiers, the patriots, and they did everything in the power. You wait until you're fired upon, so you don't lose the moral high ground. And that's what happened. And then, of course, we kicked their butts. Their sorry English butts out of here. And it's going to happen again.
Right.
But
it's inevitable. The handwriting's on the wall. Something's getting ready to break loose. What? We don't know. But something's getting ready to go down. And it's like the old saying, I'd rather have and don't need than a need and don't have. And therefore, I'm not, suffice to say, and I'm not trying to let my loose lip sink a ship, but by the same token, you don't get it like that. Not willingly, type thing. But I had to share. I had to go beyond that point. I really called in to share my little story from when I was a young man, very young man back in the 60s. My father was not a Christian. My mother was introduced to the Lord Jesus Christ when I was not even in my teens yet, and I followed right behind her into the church life. And my father gave opposition throughout my entire life. I was in odds with my father all my life because of the fact that my mother and I were part of this, church. And here it is, my father, his famous quote was, "Once Baptist, always Baptist." And the only time this man walked into a church was for a funeral or a wedding. But
isn't that interesting?
Okay, but we didn't make peace until the day, hours before he passed away. And I looked at my father and said, "Dad, you remember all my life when we were young, I asked you to pray with me, and you wouldn't pray with me? He said, yeah. I said, would you pray with me now? And he prayed with me that day and accepted the Lord Jesus Christ hours before he left here. And I said that to say this. A lot of times, even today, right now, in the situation I'm in, a lot of times you be talking, they'll overhear you talking about the Lord Jesus Christ. You don't have to be boisterous. You don't have to demand. My better half came to me one day. She said, you think I don't be listening to you, but I be listening to you, and I can see what you're talking about. They will see it. Okay? All you have to do is keep on living it, keep on believing it, keep on speaking it, not to them directly, but indirectly. A lot of times they hear me talking indirectly. Okay? And they will hear it. They will hear it. But basically, the bottom line is for you to do what you're supposed to be doing at all times, and that's praising the Lord Jesus Christ. And sooner or later, they're going to get it.
Wow. Well, Vernon, I'm still stuck on the wonderful gift that you gave to your dad and your dad gave to you by being able to pray together before his passing. And
before his passing.
Wow.
Wow. I'm going to tell you, Doug, when the Lord has his hands in the package, you come out with a pretty, and I hate to say it, but, this way, but it's tied, it's bowed, just as neat and folded, just as nice package, because in him is perfection, but only in him. And when you're in his arms, when you're in his will, those around you are going to come into the fold. That's my prayer.
Well said, Vernon. What a wonderful prayer indeed. I mean, well said.
I'm
that's why you're the man.
I'm losing you. Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
We're here, Vernon. But
okay, I thought I was losing you there for a second. But basically, I just wanted to encourage everyone. I heard one young lady talk about her sons where, he get angry. Don't say nothing to him. Take a little track and leave it in the bathroom or leave it on the dining room table and walk away. I guarantee somewhere along the line they're going to pick it up.
Right.
Somewhere along the line the message is going to get through.
Yep. That's a good way of doing it.
And all you got to do is stay in prayer. That's all you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Okay.
Well, God bless you, Vern. God bless you, my friend.
God bless all.
Wisdom.
Keep looking up, for the King is coming.
And check out Vernon's radio show on Blog Talk Radio here called Conspiracy Files. Thursday nights from 6 to 8 Eastern, correct?
Yes, it's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday evening. And, I'm glad you mentioned that, Doug, because you mentioned trying to get all the talk show hosts together. I'm still looking for you to, get everybody together, and let's bring the talk show hosts all into the conference room because we desperately need that meeting.
Yeah, we do, Vernon. And what we've got to do is we've got to get together, all of as many people as we can, have everyone leave their own individual agendas at the door, before we come in, and let's talk about how we can best serve all of our listeners.
Exactly.
And best help them, and especially as the times get rough. We need to do that. So we'll be in touch, Vernon, to be sure.
Well,
it's just
I do have your home number. If I can call you tomorrow, I'll give you a call, and we can make a schedule and go from there.
All right, my friend.
Okay, sir?
God bless.
Look, God bless everyone, and keep looking up.
Take care, Vernon.
I got a real quick, Joe, here. I just want to mention this. Got an email from, real quick, Obama redefines liberty to mean government compliance. And this was posted by a gentleman by the name of Gary DeMar, and I want to thank you, Marianne, for sending this to me. Let me read this real quick because I think it really has a point to it that everyone really needs to hear. This gentleman writes, when I went to visit my mother yesterday, her TV was stuck on President Obama's inaugural address. It was painful to listen to. Fortunately, my 90-year-old mother is hard of hearing. I came in on this line from the address. Quote, being true to our founding documents does not require us to agree on every contour of life. It does not mean we will all define liberty in exactly the same way or follow the same precise path to happiness. You and I might define liberty as being able to keep the money we earn. Obama and friends may define liberty as taking money that you and I earn and giving it to people who have decided to live in terms of government generosity. He said as much. Quote, for we, the people, understand that our country cannot succeed when a shrinking few do very well and a growing many barely make it. Why aren't the people doing well? Because Obama defines liberty in a way that was different from the founders he referenced in his address. Some time ago, I was listening to Alice in Wonderland, a Walt Disney read-along book and tape, with my oldest son, who was 3 at the time, and came across a rather insightful commentary on the nature of political power. Alice is confronted by the Queen of Hearts and is asked if she plays croquet. By the way, I never got Alice in Wonderland. I just never got it. Okay, Alice answers yes, but insists that she cannot stay to play because she's trying to find her way. Your way, bellowed the Queen. Always here are my ways. Off with her head. After locating the scenes in the original Alice in Wonderland books, I found 2 stories. Alice's encounter with the Red Queen and her trial before the Queen of Hearts. They're merged in the abbreviated Walt Disney book and tape. The Red Queen maintains that all ways are her ways. I don't know what you mean by your way, said the Queen. All the ways here belong to me. The individual must sacrifice his ways for the good of the state. Individuals are made to feel guilty for having private initiative. Any productivity that makes for an equal society must be given up for the good of all. The Queen of Hearts, a political cousin to the Red Queen, had a simple solution for those who disagreed with her policies. Off with their heads. When opposition arises, supposed or real, the only solution open to the despot is forced compliance to the new definitions. The Red Queen and the Queen of Hearts are on a rampage in our nation. Those who do not play croquet with them will find the refrain, off with their heads, spoken with clarity and regularity. There is a ground for power in our house of cards. How did tyrannical governments get into power? Well, it's a slow but deliberate process. The goal is to change the way people think. One way to do this is to change the rules of the game, even down to the definition of terms. Again, Lewis Carroll offers some insights. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by glory, Alice said. Humpty Dumpty smiled contemptuously. Of course you don't, till I tell you. When I use a word, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is, Alice, said Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things. The question is, said Humpty Dumpty, which is to be the master. That's all. For the despot, power is all that matters. Words and what they mean, what they can mean, are used to shape new opinions. And if you think about that, that's what's going on in the world today, in this country today.
Mm-hmm.
Oof,
very good.
Interesting.
We're going to go to Pierre. He's been on hold for a while. Thanks for holding. Pierre, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey, Doug. Hey, Joe. Hi, everyone in the chat room. How are you guys doing?
Very well, sir.
Okay. I know time is short, so I'm going to hit up on some things here really quick, and then I guess we can just do Q&A. Doug, Joe, are you guys aware of an article that was posted by theexaminer.com? It's titled Effort to Abolish Local Sheriffs, a Stealth Federal Power Grab?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Okay. And you know, like, say, for instance, in Delaware, who the state attorney general is there, right?
In Delaware?
No.
Yes.
Who?
Listen, I'm only going to go three little paragraphs on this. You guys will all get this, and I'll put the link up on the chat room. The news report has been quietly making its way around the alternative media under the radar screen concerning a Delaware legal decision to strip county sheriffs of their arrest powers in the state. The mainstream media has not reported the story, but the son of Vice President Joe Biden, who serves as Attorney General for the state of Delaware, has issued a mandate to county commissioners, informing them that sheriffs in the state's 3 counties no longer have powers to arrest. When the information reached this reporter late yesterday evening, further investigation revealed that there is a nationwide effort to strip local sheriffs of their enumerated powers that are mandated in the state constitutions of the various states. Such a move would have the net effect of abolishing local sheriff's departments and strengthening the power of federal law enforcement agencies. That's only just a part of it. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but I didn't know if you guys knew about this or not, but I'm just now posting it. That's a very big
been around
draft.
for a while now.
Yeah, that's a
I'll tell you what,
draft.
They can draft up these motions or try to take these powers away, but do you really think that the sheriffs are going to just lay down and say, okay?
No, Joe, I don't. I think it'll be wartime.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And the sheriffs have had power taken away from them in the past here in our state. Well, certain powers, like pulling people over, for example, but they still are the highest law authority of our
right. And now there's Pierre, that there's this talk too of, for example, when the Utah sheriffs sent in the Utah Sheriff's Association sent in that letter to Biden, for example, saying we're not going to comply with the one sheriff, I think it was from the Salt Lake City area, said, well, there's the supremacy clause, or we have to abide by the federal law. So there is some. It's not 100% compliance or 100%. All the sheriffs are not on board with.
No, they're not.
What we're talking about.
But the factor here is it's resistance. Now we're actually starting to see, this just isn't about the people now. You're talking about law enforcement, county level law enforcement saying no. So now you have fracture and division. And this goes all the way back to what other callers were talking about, how about the Chinese and how they intend to collect. I do believe they intend to collect, but they're not going to be stupid to come in here. They've learned, philosophically at least, how the Japanese had viewed things in World War II about potentially invading America, and I forgot who it was. I believe it was Admiral Yamamoto at the time, the orchestrator of Pearl Harbor, said it will be futile to pretty much invade America because there will be rifles behind every blade of grass. Well, see, China doesn't want to deal with that. They want as little resistance as possible. Now, you take into account the debt. You take into account what's owed. You take into account what the Chinese own now, what they intend to own. Currently, look at the markets. Look at where that's going, everyone. Then let's go to what I touched on yesterday about the radar net, the early warning radar being taken down on the whole southern end. Okay,
right.
Anything low-level flying and stealth can come on in. You're talking about a massive invasion corridor. And then let's go months before that, last year, when WHO had authorized the shutdown of 9 border patrol stations along our southern borders. You've got a recipe, literally, for air-ground invasion of the United States. Add to that the caller that called in about what he had heard, but on the John Moore show, and then you were asking what's going on that. John Moore had talked about this several different times. Each came from 3 different sources, all confirming the same thing. And John Moore was right. He pretty much says if you got three or more sources talking to you about the same thing, and these sources don't know anything about each other, they have no contacts, no nothing, you need to stand up and take attention to it. And I totally agree with him. I did find out, too, through my contacts, yes, U.S. military and federal civilian assets have been moved and are still moving from the East Coast. The the West Coast and the Gulf regions, and they're moving in deep inland. Last I heard, though it's unconfirmed, they've been setting up Patriot anti-missile defense systems somewhere along in Pennsylvania. So that only leads to logical conclusions, just like the caller said, which is what John Moore came out with, which I agree with. Either there is a massive oceanic event that's going to happen where there's going to be just the sea levels are going to rise and the water's going to come in and inundate the land, or we're facing invasion. And if you got Patriots, that means more likely nukes. That needs to sink in, folks, because you see this all now goes into the other stuff that's currently happening. The deflections, the smoke and mirrors I've been telling everyone about, and I'm glad you guys agree with me on this. We're looking at the Pacific. We're looking at a brand spanking new war potentially happening on the Pacific, and the Chinese aren't joking. They're ready to fight. They've made it perfectly clear that they're ready to take on and will destroy our naval assets should we get into the mix. You've got North Korea now jaw-jacking, saber-rattling. We're going to do a nuke test, and we're doing this for you, America, because we're not with you. Obviously, they're not. They want to hurt us. If anyone, I remember people in the chat room were asking Doug and Joe, what's the range? It was Mark by Heaven asked that. What's the range on that? North Korean ICBM can reach America within 30 minutes. A land-based ICBM can hit within 30 minutes, but specifically Hawaii, Guam, and the Western Seaboard. Can't go any further than that. They don't have that kind of tech. To get that, they would need stuff in the Chinese and the Russians.
Am I wrong, or do I recall this correctly that North Korea did fire a rocket and that did make it to the Alaskan mainland?
It made it as far, last I heard, it made it as far as Hawaii. I'm not sure if it made it to Alaska, but if it did, and it wasn't shot down, then we've got a problem because, you see, it's crossing into our airspace, and at that point, the U.S. Air Force, through Strategic Air Command and through NORTHCOM, would have had to take an action to take that rocket down, regardless if it had anything on it heavy or not. It should have been shot down. Hell, if anything, pardon my French, was flying over Hawaii, that's Pacific Fleet headquarters, it should have been shot down, but it wasn't.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, that's executive orders coming from the president. I have no confirmation from it, but it only makes sense to me that he probably told Sink Pat, Commander-in-Chief, Pacific Fleet, stand down. It's just an exercise. Let it be. Against the better judgment and advisement of his national security advisor, his intelligence officers, and so forth. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, folks, we are being set up. It doesn't get any more naked than that. It don't. And then I'm going to touch on this one thing real quick because we only have maybe 3 minutes left. You remember when we were talking about, that one caller was talking about something happening to trigger off gun confiscation, and then you raised up about assassinations. It was funny because I was thinking this very thing today. And would it be the president? Could be. It'd make a potent statement, but it doesn't mean he's going to die.
Right.
I'm thinking it would be, and this is the cruelest trick of all, because you see it's the enemy going against one of their own, a lesser enemy within their ranks, an ally within their ranks, who supports the gun confiscation thing. Elements knows who it could be. I'm not going to toss any names out because I don't want to be accused of crap. But I could see someone within their ranks being set up to be taken down. It would make it look like it was either a Christian right-wing fundamentalist. Guess what? Those of you that are the enemy that are listening, Christian right-wing fundamentalists aren't Caucasian people that always wear freaking iron crosses and that are Nazi lowriders or skinheads. They're black like me. They're Hispanic. They're Asian. There's people out there that make up the Christian belief. You keep going on the same thing and trying to create a race war. It's not going to really work, folks. But that's all I got to say for the 2 minutes that we have. Next week I'll catch up with you guys on things.
All right, Pierre, because we're up against the end of the program. God bless you, my friends. Stay safe.
God bless you
Good
both.
to hear from you.
Take care, everyone in the chat room.
Good night. Wow, Joe, that 3 hours went quickly tonight.
The last 2 nights, the 3 hours have gone by in the blink of an eye, literally.
Yes.
So fast. And
thank everyone for listening. God bless you all. Look, we're all in this together, and we're all going to be in this together.
Sunday night, don't forget, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Pastor David Langford, Steve Quayle, my father, myself.
Yeah, if you've never heard Pastor Langford, he's a one. He's a speaker in demand all over the country. Just so you know that, and he speaks all over the country. What a great guy. But yeah, Jeff, thanks for that. Sunday night.
You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. We will see you on Sunday. God bless each and every one of you.